Chapter 861. In the Black Marsh Swamp, the savage beasts had already returned to their nests. Ning Fan flew above the great marsh and activated his rain technique. His spirit sense immediately spread far away along with the curtain of rain. Very soon, Ning Fan found the wild beast that devoured the strange infant. Then, he immediately flew towards the wild beast's lair in a flash. That wild beast's cultivation base was at the early true nascent soul realm. Currently, it was sleeping soundly. When it sensed the arrival of a strong enemy, it immediately opened its eyes and rushed out of its lair. It glared at Ning Fan fiercely and roared at the sky. This roar was not loud, but for some reason, it traveled extremely far. Any savage beast that heard the roar could not help but rush over. That scene was as if the emperor of the mortal world was in trouble and the vassals were rushing to the rescue of the emperor. They were extremely anxious. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with green light as he glanced at the wild beast in front of him. This was a purple-scaled savage beast that was half fish and half dragon. The strange infant within its body was still present, and it had not been completely refined and absorbed. At this moment, an extremely small head had grown out of the beast's neck. Perhaps after refining the strange infant, it would have a second head. This beast is clearly not the leader of the wild beasts here, but a single roar from it could attract tens of thousands of wild beasts to help. Could it be because of the existence of that strange infant? Any savage beast that devours the strange infant would be able to make other savage beasts submit to it. There seems to be a trace of Jie Shui's aura in that strange baby. A golden light flashed and he disappeared without a trace. In the next moment, he appeared on the huge head of the beast. Without saying a word, he punched the beast. With Ning Fan's heavenly devil physical body which was at the peak of the first nirvana realm, the power of a single punch was enough to severely injure this beast even without using any of his abilities. Even though the scales of the beast were thick, it could not withstand the force of Ning Fan's punch. Half of its head was directly blasted away by Ning Fan. The purple-scaled savage beast let out a blood-curdling screech and was on the verge of death. However, just as it was about to die, the beast's body suddenly turned into a pile of mud. At the same time, the swamp at the side gathered again, forming the appearance of the purple-scaled savage beast. It had actually been revived. The head that was smashed by Ning Fan was actually successfully reconstructed after being crushed and solidified. However, it was slightly smaller than before. He was clearly on the verge of death, but he could still come back to life. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. He realized that the mud divine ability of this beast seemed to have a trace of power similar to tribulation will. This strength seemed to be the self-preservation ability bestowed upon the savage beast by the bizarre infant in its body. In the distance, the auras of countless savage beasts were rushing over, and there was no lack of shedding void realm savage beasts. Even though Ning Fan had killed a shedding void lightning spirit before, he was not so conceited that he could fight against several shedding void barbaric beasts without losing. As such, the only way was to kill this beast before those powerful savage beasts arrived. 1,200 traces of natal battle flames burned within Ning Fan's body. At this moment, he activated the second transformation of his battle art. At this moment, Gu Mo's cultivation base skyrocketed all the way to the third nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. A late true crossing realm aura immediately erupted from his body. Ning Fan flicked his finger repeatedly, and rays of black and red light immediately shot out, penetrating the body of the purple-scaled beast, continuously inflicting fatal injuries on it. Every time it was on the verge of death, the purple-scaled savage beast would turn into mud. Although it could continuously revive, its aura would become weaker and weaker. Moreover, the beast did not notice that every time Ning Fan used the barbaric flash, he would use the power of tribulation will to set up formation techniques inside its body. In the past, Ning Fan could not set up formations using tribulation will. However, now that he had comprehended the secret of the word force and his understanding of the Tao of formations, he was much better than before. As the number of techniques inside the purple-scaled beast's body increased, Ning Fan finally formed a hand seal and shouted coldly. Collapse. All of a sudden, countless formation patterns appeared on the surface of the beast's body. All of its abilities were sealed by the formation. Ning Fan threw another punch and destroyed the beast's head. The beast finally screamed and died. It could no longer turn into mud to evade the calamity. Roar! At the moment when Ning Fan killed the purple-scaled beast, the group of savage beasts in the distance seemed to have sensed his presence. All of them roared angrily and locked onto Ning Fan with their killing intent. Ning Fan tore the flesh of the purple-scaled beast into pieces with both of his hands and took out the two-headed strange infant inside its body. With just a glance, Ning Fan noticed that the strange infant contained a trace of fake tribulation blood's power. Even though it was fake tribulation blood, devouring this infant would probably strengthen the tribulation blood in his body slightly. He did not devour the infant immediately. Instead, he kept it in his storage pouch and fled into the distance with a flash. No matter where he went, no matter if he concealed himself or not, the group of savage beasts behind him seemed to be able to accurately lock onto his location. Are they sensing my location based on this strange infant? Ning Fan suddenly stopped moving and no longer fled. The reason why he ran away just now was to confirm that these savage beasts had the ability to track down the strange infant. He suddenly turned around and rushed towards the savage beasts that were full of killing intent. Every time he threw out a punch, an early Truth Crossing Realm savage beast would definitely die. Even if it was a mid-Truth Crossing Realm savage beast, it would be sent flying and suffer serious injuries after being hit by Ning Fan's punches. After killing 7 to 8 early Truth Crossing Realm savage beasts, there were already late Truth Crossing Realm savage beasts surrounding him. As the number of savage beasts increased, Ning Fan finally unsealed the power of yin and yang in the rain. Then, he made a grabbing motion with his 5 fingers, pulled out the earth soul from the ground and swallowed it. His aura force immediately skyrocketed. Under the dual cultivation of magic power, his strength was already infinitely close to that of a shedding void realm cultivator. Ning Fan summoned the 5 rain swords. The 5 immortal swords hung high in the sky and torrential rain poured down. Under the shedding void realm, none of the savage beasts could withstand a single round of attacks from the 5 swords. Savage beasts kept screaming and falling to the ground. Their corpses were everywhere and their dirty blood flowed all over the black swamp. At this moment, Ning Fan unleashed his full combat power. When the 7 shedding void realm savage beasts arrived, there were no other savage beasts left. Alien race. Hand over Wang Ying. The 7 shedding void realm savage beasts roared furiously. Wang Ying. The beast that possesses the infant is the king of the savage beasts, huh? Ning Fan seemed to have understood something. However, it was impossible for him to hand over the strange infant to the savage beasts. He performed a hand seal and the rainstorm between heaven and earth immediately fused into the 5 swords, turning into millions of immortal sword shadows that slashed at the 7 beasts. The 7 beasts were not weak either. Each of them executed a brutal flash attack and directly destroyed the millions of sword shadows. Only an early shedding void realm savage beast was slightly injured by the rain of swords. After trying it out, Ning Fan immediately knew that he was not a match for the 7 beasts. Thus, he did not continue to attack. After a series of battles, the bottleneck of the 3rd transformation of Ning Fan's battle art had loosened. Since he had also obtained the strange infant, it was time for him to go back and cultivate in seclusion. He raised his hand and withdrew the 5 rain swords. Then, he performed a hand seal with all 10 of his fingers. His finger shadows danced in the air and immediately, heaven and earth were filled with purple mist. At the moment when the purple mist appeared, Ning Fan took out the strange infant. He moved his fingers like a sword and cut the strange infant into 2, killing it. Then, he immediately swallowed the broken infant and refined the false calamity blood within it. As soon as the strange infant died, the 7 shedding void realm savage beasts immediately lost track of Ning Fan. The purple mist covered Ning Fan's figure and the rainstorm washed away his qi. When they sensed Wang Ying's death, the 7 shedding void realm savage beasts wailed to the sky, wishing that they could kill Ning Fan as soon as possible. However, when the purple mist dispersed, Ning Fan's figure was nowhere to be seen. Damn it. Wang Ying was saved by us once, but he still died in the hands of the alien race. How are we going to fulfill the agreement between our race and the demon race next time? Wang Ying is one less. While the 7 savage beasts were shocked and furious, in the northern region of the ancient wild region, a furious roar resounded in the barbarian region of the 7 great demon races. Damn it! Something big is about to happen and one of the defying nascent souls is gone. Who was it that dared to kill the defying nascent soul that I planted? As soon as the roar was heard, a powerful expert of the demon race immediately flew up to the snowy sky. It was a purple-haired old man with a dragon horn on his head. His body was emitting the powerful aura of an ancient immortal venerable. The purple-haired old man changed his hand seals and the 7 shedding void realm savage beasts that were chasing after Ning Fan immediately let out a blood-curdling scream and died. In the purple-haired old man's sea of consciousness, 7 messages immediately appeared. The one who killed the defying nascent soul was a cultivator of the 4 heavens with a ghost face and silver hair. You want to run away after killing me? Is there such a good thing in this world? You won't be able to run away. The purple-haired old man sneered. His smile was extremely ferocious. Then, his figure shrank and merged with heaven and earth, vanishing without a trace. When he reappeared, he had already traveled across half of the barbarian region. His movement technique was extremely fast. With his speed, he only needed 100 breaths to travel across several barbarian regions and arrive at the Black Swamp Great Swamp. At this moment, Ning Fan, who had gotten rid of the 7 shedding void realm savage beasts, suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of danger. His eyes flashed with green light. He immediately sensed that there was an aura that was comparable to an ancient immortal venerable rushing towards the Black Swamp Great Swamp at full speed. Killing that strange nascent soul has actually attracted an ancient immortal venerable. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat. However, he did not panic. He stomped on the ground with the tip of his feet. His blood boiled and he immediately turned into a ray of golden light, dashing towards the ancient forest. Using the golden light to fly at full speed, Ning Fan returned to the ancient forest in just a few breaths. After giving a brief explanation, he directly activated the power of the Yin-Yang locket, trying to keep Lu Yen and the little girl into the profound Yin world. Lu Yen was kept into the profound Yin world, but the little girl could not. Are you trying to keep me into a spatial treasure? Little Qianqian said that when my lightning body evolves, I can't enter any spatial spaces of spatial treasures. The little girl said innocently. You can't enter the spatial spaces of spatial treasures, huh? Ning Fan frowned. He directly carried the little girl on his shoulder and rode on the golden light. In just a few breaths, he had already left this barbarian region. When the elderly man arrived at the Black Swamp Great Swamp, Ning Fan had already traveled a few barbarian regions. Humph. You sure run fast. But you can't run away. The purple-haired elderly man sensed the remnant nascent soul qi in Ning Fan's body. Just as he was about to chase after him, his eyes suddenly turned grim. The space above the Black Swamp Great Swamp cracked and 2 figures walked out of it. It was a man and a woman. Both of them possessed the strength of an ancient immortal venerable. 6 Unity Immortal Venerable Miao Yen. As soon as the purple-haired elderly man saw the 2 human immortal venerables in front of him, his expression immediately turned grim. The 6 Unity Immortal Venerable was a middle-aged man. He wore an emperor's crown and the king qi around him was intimidating. His aura force was strong enough to sweep through heaven and earth. He looked at the purple-haired elderly man with cold eyes. He did not say a word, but it gave the latter a great pressure. The other female immortal venerable was called Miao Yen. Her face was covered with a light veil. Her chi was slightly weaker than the purple-haired elderly man and the 6 Unity immortal venerable. Seeing the fearful look on the purple-haired elderly man's face, Venerable Miao Yen giggled and said in a charming tone, "I was wondering which immortal venerable of the demon race was giving off such a strong killing intent that made everyone in the entire ancient savage desolation region anxious. Turns out it's fellow Taoist Du Longzi of the True Dragon Clan. Why? Judging from fellow Taoist's aura, it seems like you want to kill your way into the 5 regions of the divine race. Hee hee. If that's the case, I can't help but stop you. Damn it. I was just one step away from capturing that junior and taking back the power of my remnant nascent soul. I didn't expect these 2 people to come and stop me." The purple-haired elderly man reluctantly looked at the direction where Ning Fan had escaped to. His expression was extremely unpleasant. After a short moment of silence, he finally let out a cold snort. His body merged with heaven and earth and returned to the north. Du Longzi. He came here in such a threatening manner. What's his purpose? Venerable 6 Unity frowned and looked at the direction where the purple-haired elderly man was looking at. Unfortunately, he could not sense the power of the remnant nascent soul. Naturally, he did not know which direction Ning Fan had escaped to. I don't know. Recently, I've been feeling uneasy, as if something big is going to happen in this ancient savage desolation region. Venerable Miao Yen said with a frown. I also have the same feeling. Could it be that the demon race is preparing to start the next world war? If that's the case, we must report this matter to the puppet sect so that we can take precautions. We'll do as fellow Taoist 6 Unity said. After we return, we'll report this matter to the puppet sect. Outside a few barbarian regions, Ning Fan heaved a sigh of relief when he sensed that the chi of the immortal venerable 10,000 ancient had gone far away. His original intention was to escape towards the camp of the cultivators of the 4 heavens and attract the attention of the immortal venerables of the 4 heavens who were in charge of the barbarian regions. Now, it seemed like he had achieved his goal. After I killed the strange nascent soul, those wild beasts could no longer sense my presence. However, that immortal venerable 10,000 ancient who came from the north could sense the location of the broken nascent soul in my body. Only by completely refining this nascent soul can I shield myself from his senses. The immortal venerable who came from the north should be an immortal venerable of the demon race. What exactly is the significance of this strange nascent soul? It actually attracted the attention of the immortal venerable of the demon race. This matter doesn't seem simple. Ning Fan returned to the North Star barbarian region which was occupied by the god race and returned to the Mulan city. As soon as he entered the city, he let Lu Yen out and asked the little loli to stay with her. Then, he immediately went into seclusion to refine the broken nascent soul. In just half a day, the broken nascent soul was completely refined by Ning Fan. After absorbing the power of the pseudo-tribulation blood, the power of his tribulation blood greatly increased. Not only did the power of the tribulation blood greatly increase, but for some reason, after refining the broken nascent soul, Ning Fan's body actually gained a trace of power that was close to the origin of Tao. After absorbing this power, the progress of Ning Fan's yin-yang battle technique directly increased by 1%. What exactly is this broken nascent soul? Ning Fan's expression changed. In the twilight snow barbarian region of the northern region of the barbarian region. In a certain demon city, the purple-haired old man's face was as cold as iron. Invisible killing intent was constantly being emitted from his body. One of the defying nascent souls was gone. At such a critical moment, it would be very difficult to replenish the lost defying nascent souls, damn it. Just because of the death of this defying nascent soul, the plan will have to be delayed for at least 10 years. If the dragon ancestor knows that I'm not doing a good job, he will certainly punish me. But fortunately, we only lost one defying nascent soul and it's just the weakest one. If we lose more, the consequences will be unimaginable. Ghost face silver hair. Ghost face silver hair. This brat is extremely hateful. Where are the poisonous dragon guards? In the main hall, the purple-haired old man shouted coldly at a place where no one was around. Immediately, 72 demon cultivators with dragon horns wearing purple-gold battle armor appeared and knelt before the purple-haired old man. The poisonous dragon guards are here to listen to the old ancestors' orders. Among these 72 people, the lowest cultivation level was at the late stage of the crossing truth realm, while the highest cultivation level was at the peak of the shedding void realm. These 72 people were the famous poison dragon guards of the true dragon clan. They were the heroes of the demon clan in the last realm war. Every one of them had made great contributions and became famous in the last realm war. They were organized as dragon guards. I order you to infiltrate the god race's 5 regions and assassinate this person to vent the hatred in my heart. All of you. Do you dare? The purple-haired old man flicked his finger, and a phantom image of a silver-haired man with a demonic face immediately appeared in the air. The 72 dragon guards glanced at the shadow and all of them revealed their killing intent. None of them were afraid. As long as it wasn't the demon race's immortal venerables, the god race's immortal venerables wouldn't make a move. With their strength, sneaking into the god race's barbarian territory wasn't too risky. Why wouldn't they dare? I'm willing to serve the old ancestor. Very good. Go down. This old man awaits your good news here. Yes. Chapter 862. After a period of seclusion, Ning Fan had completely mastered the third transformation of the war god art. At night, the cold air on the city wall of Milan City condensed into frost. Ning Fan stood alone on the city wall, feeling a little uneasy. He had already refined the broken nascent soul and the immortal venerables of the demon race had already retreated. However, there was a new sense of danger in his heart. After attaining the state of the unity of heaven and man, Ning Fan had a better sense of danger. He closed his eyes and completely immersed his mind into the desolate world, as if he had become one with the entire place. Rain quietly fell. The pitter-patter of rain spread out from Milan City into the distance. As Ning Fan's cultivation base continued to deepen and the integration of heaven and man deepened, the heaven-peering rain technique no longer had any traces of being a divine ability. Old monster Shikong couldn't tell that the rain tonight was Ning Fan's divine ability of perception. As long as old monster Nian Xiang had not reached the peak of the thought fragmentation realm, he would not be able to tell the secret of Ning Fan's rain technique. The surface area of the Gauchan barbarian domain was comparable to the sum of 10 mid-grade star regions. Ning Fan's divine ability was originally not enough to cover the entire Gauchan barbarian domain. At most, it could only cover the area of a mid-grade star region. However, as the yin-yang rain technique was unsealed, the rain of heaven and earth immediately obeyed Ning Fan's command. The drizzle covered the entire Gauchan barbarian domain and extended all the way to the north. Beyond the north of the Gauchan barbarian domain, there were many unoccupied barbarian domains. None of them escaped Ning Fan's divine sense. Ning Fan's spirit sense merged with the rain and scanned through countless savage beast nests and barbarian cities. He even scanned through the ancient forest, the Black Swamp Great Swamp and the barbarian city where Wu Chen and the others were. He went all the way to the north, heading straight to the 7 regions of the demon race. The area covered by the rain was still expanding. As he approached the 7 regions of the demon race, Ning Fan saw 72 traces of demon cultivators rushing towards him. The moment he sensed those demon cultivators, Ning Fan's expression immediately changed. The source of his sense of danger was none other than these 72 demon cultivators. Are they coming for me? How did they find my location? I have already refined the power of the broken nascent soul. There should be nothing in my body that they can sense. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. After remaining silent for a while, he still closed his eyes and carefully examined his body. The first time he looked inside his body, he didn't find any problems. The second time he looked inside his body, he didn't find any problems. The third time he looked inside his body, he still didn't find any problems. Ning Fan became even more focused. His entire body seemed to have become illusory, as if he was about to disappear from heaven and earth. The spiritual energy in his body was pushed to the extreme. Spiritual energy was the power of ancient demons. It was a power similar to spirit sense, but higher than spirit sense. Even with his divine sense, he was unable to sense anything wrong with his body. But when he used his spiritual power to check his body, he was shocked to find that there was a purple mark in his body. That purple mark was extremely obscure. Before the purple-haired elderly man left, he had planted it in Ning Fan's body from a few barbarian regions using a great divine ability to mark his location. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold all of a sudden. There was a trace of immortal venerable qi in this purple mark. That qi belonged to the immortal venerable of the demon race who chased after him that day. What surprised Ning Fan was that this purple mark was actually condensed from the spiritual power of ancient demons. That was why this mark was so obscure and hard for Ning Fan to detect it. However, because the spiritual power contained in this mark was not pure enough, it could not escape from Ning Fan's fully spiritual power. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He had a guess in his heart, but he was not sure. He separated some of his ancient demon's spiritual power into the purple mark, leaving behind a trace of reaction. Then, Ning Fan opened his mouth and spat out the mark, forcing it out of his body. It broke into hundreds of pieces, and with a flick of his finger, hundreds of pieces of the mark flew towards different directions like meteors across the night sky, heading towards the barbarian regions that had yet to be conquered. All of a sudden, the 72 poisonous dragon guards who were chasing after Ning Fan from the northernmost region stopped in their tracks. Among the 72 guards, there were 11 Shek Kong realm experts, and only one of them was at the peak Shek Kong realm. That peak Shek Kong realm old man's expression immediately turned gloomy after recovering from his slight astonishment. Strange. Why did the reaction of the mark in that person's body separate? There are actually 481 directions where the reaction came from. Could it be that this person discovered the mark in old ancestor's body and separated it from his body? Impossible. There are only 19 people in our true dragon clan who have cultivated the false dragon wheel. Old ancestor poisonous dragon is one of them. The mark that old ancestor poisonous dragon left behind using his spiritual power can't be seen through even by the immortal venerables of the human race, let alone ordinary cultivators. Even if that cultivator used a secret technique and revealed his strongest state, it would still be difficult for him to fight against 7 Shek Kong realm barbaric beasts. He doesn't have the ability to see through the spiritual mark. If that's the case, this person might have cultivated some kind of cloning secret technique which allowed him to create 480 clones and separate them from his main body. If that's the case, the peak Shek Kong realm old man's eyes darkened and he made up his mind. With just an order, the 72 dragon guards were ordered to split up and kill different marks. Once all 481 marks are destroyed, one of them would definitely be Ning Fan. It's just that this rain is a little strange. It rarely rains in the northern barbarian regions. After the 72 dragon guards split up, the peak Shek Kong realm old man raised his head and looked at the drizzle in the night sky. He seemed to be doubtful. However, he did not discover anything unusual after using his senses. On the city wall of the Milan continent, Ning Fan's eyes gradually flashed with cold light. After some probing, he confirmed that the 72 demon cultivators indeed had the ability to track the purple marks. Moreover, they were coming for him with ill intentions. For a strange infant, that immortal venerables of the demon race sent 72 demon experts all the way to the south to assassinate him. Unfortunately, they were discovered by Ning Fan just when they were not far away from the northern region. You want to kill me? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of killing intent. He was not a person who would sit and wait for death. Even if this place was the ancient barbarian region and the enemy was an ancient immortal venerate, he still dared to fight back. This was a world that was outside of the samsara. Killing Emperor and the puppets of the Slaughter Palace could not cross over to this world. After returning to the cave dwelling in the city, Ning Fan ordered Lu Yen to temporarily enter the profound Yin world. However, he decided to leave Immortal Loli in the Milan city for the time being. Immortal Loli was a certain Loli named Xian Xian. You stay in the Milan city. I have something to do. Since you can't enter the space of the treasure, I won't bring you along. What are you going to do? Immortal Loli asked innocently. To kill someone. I'll help you. Immortal Loli puffed out her chest and put on a righteous look. You. It's better if you don't go. Ning Fan shook his head. In the ancient barbarian region, he did not have any means to go against an ancient immortal venerate. However, if he's alone, he could rely on his ghost mask, his treasure and his speed to travel freely without being caught by his enemies. However, if he brings Immortal Loli along with him, she might become a burden since she would not be able to hide in the treasure once the situation changes. Humph. Don't look down on me. I'm very strong. Immortal Loli said angrily. If you face an ancient immortal venerate, you won't be able to escape. Ancient immortal venerate? What's that? Immortal Loli raised her head, expressing her confusion. It's someone who is 100 times stronger than you right now. Ning Fan was speechless. TSK. So what if he's 100 times stronger than me? If I want to escape, no one can catch me. Little Chanshan and the others tried to stop me but I still managed to escape. Look, this is my secret weapon. Immortal Loli performed a hand seal. Pieces of lightning power that looked like snowflakes immediately flew out from her body, condensing into a pair of ice-cold wings on her back. These wings seemed to be a great burden to her. However, the aura force that it gave out was something that even Ning Fan did not dare to ignore. Immortal lightning wings. Ning Fan's expression changed. He had never expected that this little girl actually had such a trump card. Immortal lightning wings was the secret technique of the Extreme Lightning Palace. According to the legends, there were not more than 10 people who had successfully cultivated it. If an immortal emperor were to cultivate this pair of wings, their speed would be unrivaled among those at the same level as them. Even if a void-shedding cultivator were to cultivate this pair of wings, they could also activate a trace of immortal lightning power from the wings and possess the speed of an immortal emperor for a short period of time. After dispersing the immortal lightning wings, Immortal Loli raised her head proudly, admiring Ning Fan's slightly surprised expression with satisfaction. Ning Fan remained silent for a while and finally nodded his head. He was also not completely at ease leaving Immortal Loli here alone. Since she has a method to protect herself, it's good to bring her along. After all, she's a void-shedding cultivator, having one more person is also a great help. Alright then. Let's go together. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve. A golden light flashed and he directly brought Immortal Loli away, leaving Mulan City and heading towards the north. He did not move at his maximum speed. He was waiting for the 72 dragon guards to completely separate from each other. Then, he would take them down one by one. Time passed by in a flash. 10 days had passed. The 29th district of the unconquered barbarian region. There was a huge change in the earth's crust of the barbarian region. The cultivators of the four heavens did not name the unconquered barbarian regions. However, the higher-ups of the demon race had secretly divided the 30 unconquered barbarian regions. The barbarian regions with different numbers had different meanings to the demon race. On a wasteland in the 29th district, a young man with dragon horns picked up a piece of broken mark from the ground. His eyes were extremely gloomy. He wore a purple golden armor and carried 3 swords on his back. He was one of the 72 poisonous dragon guards and had a late true crossing realm cultivation base. After the traces of the mark were dispersed, he pursued one of the traces alone and rushed here. He did not expect to see such a scene. The ghost-masked cultivator at Old Ancestor Wants to Kill could actually force the mark out of his body. In that case, he did not send out a clone to hide himself. Instead, he directly broke the mark and threw it to different places while his true body escaped. How did this person do it? In that case, I won't be able to find his whereabouts even if I continue to pursue the mark. Without the detection of the mark, it's no different from looking for a needle in a haystack to find a person in the endless barbarian domain. Forget it. Let's return to the north first, the dragon guard coldly harumphed. He crushed the remnant of the mark and turned to return to the north. He did not know that after he crushed the remnant of the mark, a trace of obscure fully spiritual force flowed into his body and planted the mark. The same situation also happened to the other dragon guards. All of them were planted with a trace of mark. No one knew about it. On a mountain peak in the 29th district, Ning Fan had been waiting with his eyes closed for 10 consecutive days. It was impossible for him to unseal the yin and yang seal to sense the location of all the dragon guards. He was waiting for all the dragon guards to be planted with his spiritual force mark. The first mark was planted successfully. The second mark was planted successfully. The third mark was planted successfully. When the spiritual force mark was planted in the body of the last dragon guard, Ning Fan opened his eyes and activated his battle intent. His ancient devil cultivation base skyrocketed all the way to the peak of the third nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. Carrying the immortal lowly, Ning Fan flew towards a certain direction. In the 29th district, the late True Crossing Realm Dragon Guard who had just traveled tens of millions of li to the north suddenly had a change of expression. Then, he saw a flash of golden light in the sky in front of him. Two figures, a man and a woman, slowly appeared. The woman was a silver-haired little lowly whose cultivation base could not be discerned while the man was a silver-haired cultivator with a ghost face. The young dragon guard was shocked at first. Then, he sneered. "It's you. You're the person that Old Ancestor wants to kill. Hee hee. I didn't expect that you would come to me without me looking for you. Good. Good. Very good. Such a great credit actually fell into my hands for no reason. You can die now. Demon Sea Art." The young dragon guard emitted a piercingly cold killing intent. He made a hand seal and the 3 demon swords on his back immediately rushed out of the sword sheath and vanished. Immediately, 3 giant dragon shadows appeared between heaven and earth. Each of them emitted a terrifying sword intent that could instantly kill a mid-true crossing realm cultivator. There was no sword light, but the sword intent that was as vast as the sea drowned Ning Fan and the young dragon guard, killing them without a trace. The sword intent was like the sea. Any cultivator who fell into the sea of sword intent would have no chance of survival unless they had the strength of a late true crossing realm expert. This technique had once made a name for itself in the previous realm war. During the war, a total of 19 true crossing realm experts were killed by this young dragon guard's demon sea sword intent. Your sword intent is not bad, but it's not enough to kill me with this technique. Ning Fan's expression was cold and emotionless. He clenched his 5 fingers and the invisible demon sea sword intent immediately collapsed. The 3 giant dragon shadows in the sky also collapsed with a miserable shriek. He did not use any other abilities. He only relied on his strong physical body to achieve all of this. Pseudo-ancient devil. The physical body of a peak third nirvana heavenly devil. The young dragon guard's eyes widened. He did not expect Ning Fan to have such a terrifying physical body. Moreover, Ning Fan's heavenly devil body seemed to be stronger than other pseudo-ancient devils of the same level. With just his physical body alone, Ning Fan was now strong enough to defeat any late true crossing realm cultivators. Xian, you don't have to do anything before I reach the mid-shedding void realm. I will kill all of them by myself. Ning Fan gave an order to Xian Loli who was standing beside him. With a tap of his feet, he dashed towards the young dragon guard. Rays of black and red barbaric flash gathered in Ning Fan's hand and slowly condensed into a gigantic black and red ghost head halberd. He raised his hand and hurled it. The halberd immediately turned into a ray of black and red aurora, striking at the young dragon guard. This was the War King halberd ability of the War God art. Now that Ning Fan had integrated the power of the barbaric flash into it, the appearance of the halberd changed. The barbaric flash turned into a halberd. How is this possible? The young dragon guard sucked in a cold breath. He gritted his teeth and performed a sword hand seal. 3 demon swords immediately appeared in the sky and slashed at the halberd. The 3 demon swords were all 3rd Nirvana post-celestial immortal swords with unparalleled power. However, they were all shattered by the halberd. The young dragon guard could not believe that his 3 demon swords could not resist the attack at all. At the next moment, he was engulfed by the black and red aurora and his demon body was destroyed. In the barbaric flash aurora, 10,000 li of land was turned into ruins and the ground sank 10,000 zhang. On top of the ruins, a hideous and terrifying rift was left. It was the result of the attack from the halberd. What kind of ability is this? I've never seen it before. Xian Loli asked curiously. The barbaric king halberd. It's the ability that I created using the barbaric flash and the war god art, Ning Fan said indifferently. Suddenly, he raised his hand and threw a punch at the space beside him. Immediately, a black and red crack appeared in the vast sky. The space shattered and a terrified demon dragon soul fell from the crack. It was extremely weak and on the verge of death. It was the demon soul of the young dragon guard. At this moment, he was trying to escape with his storage pouch but Ning Fan noticed him. You want to leave? Do you think you can? Ning Fan raised his hand and sucked the demon soul into his palm. Then, he kept the storage pouch and searched the demon's soul and memory without saying a word. After a round of soul searching, Ning Fan directly swallowed the demon's soul into his stomach. Then, his face turned solemn. This demon soul could not be used to perform the soul blast technique. It was useless to keep it. Rebellious infant. Is this the real name of that strange infant? I didn't expect that I would accidentally kill a rebellious infant that the True Dragon clan had set up. This rebellious infant seems to be very useful to the True Dragon clan. Unfortunately, the status of this dragon guard is too low. He doesn't know too many secrets. He only knows that this rebellious infant is a powerful weapon that the demon race used to unify the desolate land and wipe out all the cultivators in the 4 heavens. As for its specific use, this demon doesn't know. The 30 unconquered barbarian regions are secretly divided into 30 districts by the demon race. Among the 30 districts, there are still 107 rebellious infants left after I killed one of them. All rebellious infants live in the bodies of savage beasts. As for which savage beast they live in, I don't know. The savage beast seems to have reached some kind of agreement with the demon race. The specific content of the agreement can only be known by low-grade demon cultivators and savage beasts. Ning Fan gradually realized that the rebellious infant that he had accidentally killed seemed to involve a great deal of trouble. If he didn't eliminate this rebellious infant, perhaps this plot of the demon race would only surface after a long time and inflict heavy damage to the cultivators of the 4 heavens. No matter what, I have to hunt down this group of poisonous dragon guards. First. 72 poisonous dragon guards, huh? Old ancestor poisonous dragon is really generous. He actually sent such a group of experts to kill me. I wonder how many of them will die in my hands. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and turned into a golden ray of light with Immortal Loli, heading towards the other direction of the 29th district. In the 29th district, there were a total of 4 late True Crossing Realm dragon guards. He had only killed one of them. There were still 3 left. Ning Fan, who was wholeheartedly pursuing the poisonous dragon guards, did not notice the change of something in his storage pouch. After killing a poisonous dragon guard, his immortal guard token had a slight change. It was supposed to be a low-grade 8th rank immortal guard token, but after killing the poisonous dragon guard, the grade of the token skyrocketed to mid-grade 8th rank. This meant that Ning Fan's immortal position had risen to mid-grade immortal guard. Chapter 863. Ancient Savage Domain, Twilight Snow Savage Domain, Northern Region. In a hidden altar in a huge underground palace, a purple-haired old man with dragon horns on his head was sitting cross-legged inside an ancient statue grand formation, refining a strange two-headed infant with all his might. This purple-haired old man was the immortal venerable myriad ancient who pursued Ning Fan previously. He was one of the old ancestors of the true dragon clan, Old Ancestor Poison Dragon. The strange infant was originally black, but under the refinement of Old Ancestor Poison Dragon, it was turning scarlet bit by bit at an extremely slow speed. It's just a low-grade inverse nascent soul and it's already so difficult to refine. With my strength, I'll need at least 10 years to refine one. That ghost-faced silver-haired man actually dared to waste 10 years of my time. How hateful. But I think it won't take long for him to die in the hands of the poisonous dragon guards. The corner of Old Ancestor Poison Dragon's mouth curved into a disdainful sneer. He didn't pay too much attention to Ning Fan. No matter what, Ning Fan was just a junior who couldn't defeat 7 void-shedding barbaric beasts. This subordinate requests to see Old Ancestor. I have something important to report. A panicked voice suddenly came from outside the huge palace. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon's face darkened, filled with displeasure. He was at the crucial stage of his nascent soul refinement. Being disturbed by this person almost caused him to fail and destroy his nascent soul. He had clearly given the order that no one was allowed to disturb him during the 10 years of seclusion, but someone actually dared to disturb him. Do you know what punishment you'll receive for disturbing me during my nascent soul refinement? Get lost. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon said in a deep voice. Old Ancestor, you might not know this, but the poisonous dragon guards are now, no. Or die. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon shouted. The demon cultivator outside the huge palace immediately spurted out blood and was sent flying backwards. His demon body even showed signs of collapsing. In the next moment, that pitiful demon cultivator died with hatred in his heart. He didn't even have the time to say what he wanted to report. Humph. I've already handed over the matter of the poisonous dragon guards to my subordinates. What could be so serious? How dare you disturb me with such a trivial matter? This is one of the few half-finished products I have. If it's destroyed, it'll be troublesome. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon said unhappily. In another palace in Demon City, there were 4 Void Realm Dragon Clan demonic cultivators with anxious expressions on their faces. I've already sent someone to inform the Old Ancestor, but he still hasn't come out of seclusion to deal with what happened here. The life cards of the 72 Poison Dragon Guards were placed in this palace. These 72 life cards were shattering one by one. In just an hour, 11 life tablets had already shattered. Among the 11 life tokens, there was even a Dragon Guard life token at the early stage of Shell Void. 11 of the poisonous Dragon Guards have already died. Why hasn't the Patriarch come to deal with this matter yet? The 4 dragon demons looked anxious. Suddenly, the expressions of the 4 old monsters turned even uglier. The 12th life token was broken again. He didn't know how many life tablets it would take before it would stop. Southern Region, Heaven Capital Barbarian Domain. In a cultivation city built at the foot of a volcano, there was a spacious square with a huge monument erected. There were more than 5,000 Yao cultivators' names on the giant stele. They were ranked according to their ranks, and they were the 5,000 Yao cultivators who had earned outstanding battle merits for the Yao clan in the past realm wars. This tablet's name was the Demon-Slaying Tablet. It was created by the tablet-wielding Immortal Emperor, and there were great divine abilities within. On this tablet, every time a Yao cultivator died, the color of their name would change. Their name was initially red. If they died in the hands of the Four Heavens cultivators, their name would change from red to gray. If they died due to other unforeseen circumstances, their name would disappear. If they left the ancient domain, their name would temporarily change from red to white. In just an hour, 11 names on the giant stele had turned gray. This meant that 11 hostile Yao cultivators had died in the hands of the Four Heavens cultivators. Not only the Eastern Heaven cultivators could enter the savage desolate ancient domain, there were also cultivators from the Four Heavens gathered here under the command of the 4C sect. Thousands of Four Heavens experts had already gathered under the demon-slaying tablet. Looking at the giant monument, all of them were shocked. Poisonous Dragon Guard, Yen Long. This demon is a late true crossing realm cultivator. His 3 demon swords are very powerful. Even cultivators at the same level as him have been killed by him, but this demon is dead. Who killed this demon? Poisonous Dragon Guard, Viper. A peak true crossing realm cultivator is also dead. Poisonous Dragon Guard, Qian Jiao. An early shedding void realm almighty demon cultivator is also dead. He is the 11th demon cultivator to die on the demon-slaying tablet today. 11 poisonous dragon guards have lost their lives. Did the almighty experts of the Four Heavens take action? Are the cultivators of the 4C sect fighting against the poisonous dragon guards under the command of old ancestor Poisonous Dragon? What? The 12th. Another poisonous dragon guard is dead. 13. Another one is dead. Hiss. The cultivators of the Four Heavens gasped in surprise. When a few cultivators of the 4C sect heard about this, they had already reported the incident to the 2 immortal venerables in this place, Lu He and Miao Yen. When venerated Wisdom Words heard this, he was slightly surprised and showed a puzzled look. None of the experts of the 4C sect went to kill the poisonous dragon guards. The one who killed the poisonous dragon guards might be the cultivators of the Four Heavens who entered the ancient domain during the non-realm war. It might be one person or many, but the 5 divine domains didn't send a large group of cultivators. The number of those who killed the poisonous dragon guards might be very small, or there might only be one. Interesting. I wonder who is the cultivator who killed the poisonous dragon guards. If it's a cultivator from the southern heaven, I'd be very happy to get to know him. His courage is really admirable. Every one of the poisonous dragon guards is the confidant of old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. I wonder how angry that old man Poisonous Dragon will be after so many of them died. Venerable Wisdom Words giggled. She was very curious about this unknown cultivator. Humph. I also want to meet this group of reckless people. I want to see which cultivator is so reckless as to provoke old ancestor Poisonous Dragon during the non-realm war. If a realm war breaks out because of this, I might have to personally punish these people. The 6 Directions Immortal King snorted disdainfully. He was extremely dissatisfied with this unknown cultivator. After pondering for a moment, he sent out a messenger flying sword with a cold face. It seemed like he had given an order. Reverend Miao Yen frowned and said unhappily, "Fellow Taoist Lu He, your order seems to be a little too much. Regardless of whether a realm war is triggered or not, these cultivators who killed the poison dragon guards are the meritorious men of our Four Heavens. Your order seems inappropriate." So what if it's inappropriate? Does Fairy Miao Yen have any objections? The 6 Directions Immortal Venerate said with displeasure. Hee. I don't have any objections, Miao Yen giggled. She did not argue with the 6 Directions Immortal Venerate. Instead, she also sent out a messenger flying sword and gave an order. In the 14th district of the unconquered barbarian domain, a late true crossing realm dragon guard was on his way back to the northern region. However, when he saw a flash of golden light, he let out a blood-curdling scream and died before he could realize what it was. He was the 17th poisonous dragon guard that Ning Fan had killed. In the 9th district of the unconquered barbarian domain, An early void-rending realm burly man with dragon horns was flying. All of a sudden, his expression changed. He stopped flying and looked ahead with a solemn expression. In front of him, a silver-haired young man with a ghastly face and a silver-haired little loli with a smile slowly appeared. "It's you." The burly man with dragon horns was overjoyed. Just as he was about to kill the silver-haired young man, his expression suddenly changed. The silver-haired young man patted his storage pouch and summoned an ancient devil puppet. A void-rending puppet. Moreover, its cultivation base is slightly stronger than mine. The burly man with dragon horns immediately revealed an uneasy expression. He was just a newly advanced void-rending realm cultivator. His chances of winning against this void-rending puppet were slim. A great battle was about to break out at any moment. In the end, the battle ended with the death of the burly man with dragon horns. He was the 35th poisonous dragon guard that Ning Fan had killed. In the 4th district of the unoccupied barbarian region. An old woman with dragon horns who had an early void-rending realm cultivation base was flying. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in front of her and two figures appeared. Seeing that one of the two figures was her prey, the old woman immediately let out an unpleasant laugh. Before she could kill Ning Fan, the chaotic world purple light that blotted out the sky and covered the earth had already swept towards her. Even with the old woman's profound cultivation base, the moment the purple light swept past her, she immediately lost her mind and fell into a coma. She had become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It's a pity. This person has already been refined into a poisonous cauldron. Her yin qi has been completely destroyed. Otherwise, even though she is a little ugly, she can still be considered as a void-rending cauldron. Ning Fan felt slightly regretful. He released the yin and yang power of the rain and threw out the 5 swords, breaking the defense of the old woman's demonic body, turning her into minced meat. She was the 65th poisonous dragon guard that Ning Fan killed. Gradually, only 7 of the 72 poisonous dragon guards were still alive. Among the 7 of them, 1 was at the peak stage of shedding void realm, 1 was at the late stage of shedding void realm, 2 were at the middle stage of shedding void realm, and 3 were at the early stage of shedding void realm. Hey! Food brother! Don't fight by yourself. Let me help you. You haven't let me make a move for so long. Are you looking down on me? Damn it! I'm very good at fighting. You don't even believe me. The immortal loli felt very bored. The immortal loli felt very unhappy. Along the way, Ning Fan had been selectively searching for dragon guards who were below the mid-shedding void realm and killing them on his own. He did not give the immortal loli any chance to attack. For some reason, she felt extremely displeased when she saw these true dragon clansmen. She also wanted to kill a few dragon guards. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not give her the chance. Don't worry, there will be a chance for you to strike. With the special physique of the Great 5 Elements physique, Ning Fan devoured the spiritual items of the 5 elements one after another to recover his magic power rapidly. After his magic power had fully recovered, he once again found an early shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard. This time, he did not choose to fight alone. This time, there were 11 shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards among the 72 poisonous dragon guards. Ning Fan killed 4 of them on his own. Among them, the old woman was killed by Ning Fan with the chaotic world purple mist. The remaining 3 shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards were the weakest among the early shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards. They were also killed by Ning Fan with his ancient devil puppets. As for the remaining 7 shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards, they were all existences that Ning Fan could not kill on his own. If he were to forcefully kill them, he might be able to kill 1 or 2 of them. However, he would definitely be heavily injured in return. It was not worth it. Therefore, the immortal loli finally had the chance to make her appearance. Oh. The prey actually took the initiative to find the hunter. What's going on? The eyes of the shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard that Ning Fan had found flashed slightly. His sense of smell had always been sharp. Even if Ning Fan could conceal his baleful qi, he could not conceal the smell of dragon blood on his body. The smell of dragon blood was very strong. It was enough to prove that Ning Fan had killed too many poisonous dragon guards along the way. Looks like there's going to be some trouble. The prey seems to be very strong. But that's fine too. The more dangerous the situation is, the more I like it. Today's battle will be the battle to break through the bottleneck of the mid-shedding void realm. The shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard smiled coldly. His eyes suddenly turned gloomy and a gigantic shadow of an ice dragon appeared behind his back. At the moment the gigantic shadow appeared, countless ice dragon scales appeared on the demon's body. His qi also began to rise rapidly, approaching the mid-shedding void realm. Let's attack together. Ning Fan directly used his full strength in the first round. He unsealed the yin and yang rain and attacked with his 5 swords at the same time with the ancient devil puppets helping him from the side. The immortal Loli also unleashed her powerful lightning power. She was even faster than Ning Fan. She appeared in front of the shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard in a flash. She raised her delicate fist and threw a punch. With just that punch, cold lightning power that was as cold as ice and snow immediately appeared in a frenzy. It turned into countless broken snowflakes that flashed across the sky. The shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard was directly sent flying by the immortal Loli's punch. After that, he was attacked by the 5 swords of rain and the ancient devil puppets. Even though he tried his best to defend himself, he still suffered serious injuries. The destructive power of the 5 swords of rain made him feel a sense of danger. The existence of the ancient devil puppets also made him feel a great threat. However, what he found the most unbelievable was the immortal Loli's strength. In the eyes of the shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard, the immortal Loli was just a little girl without any cultivation base. However, a casual punch from her had easily shattered all the ice dragon scales on his body. The cold lightning power that she unleashed even made his body feel numb and sluggish for a moment. This isn't good. I can't handle today's situation alone. The shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard's eyes darkened. He temporarily gave up on his mission to kill Ning Fan and directly turned into an icy rainbow to escape. He was not the first dragon guard who tried to escape from Ning Fan. Unfortunately, how could his speed be faster than the golden light on the ground? Do you think you can escape? Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and immediately turned into a golden rainbow, chasing after the shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard with the immortal Loli. An hour later, the shedding void realm poisonous dragon guard was unwilling to die. He became the 66th dragon guard that Ning Fan killed this time. After this dragon guard, 2 other early shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards died under Ning Fan in the immortal Loli's joint attack. At this point, there were a total of 68 poisonous dragon guards who died in Ning Fan's hands. The remaining 4 dragon guards were all at the mid-shedding void realm poisonous dragon guards and above. Even if Ning Fan and the immortal Loli joined forces, they did not have the confidence to injure any of them. After all, the immortal Loli was at the critical moment of the evolution of her lightning body. Ning Fan did not have the intention to bring her along and take the risk. These 4 poisonous dragon guards became the only survivors of the 72 dragon guards. Bang! Ning Fan performed a hand seal and destroyed the imprints in the bodies of the 4 dragon guards. Then, he left with the immortal Loli. There was another reason why he did not continue to kill the other dragon guards. It was a scroll that Ning Fan obtained from the storage pouch of the 68th dragon guard when he killed him. That early-stage void shell dragon guard seemed to have quite a high status in the true dragon clan. On the scroll, there was a complete map of the 42 domains of the wild ancient region. On the map, 108 blood dots were marked among the 30 unconquered barbarian regions. One of the blood spots was located in the Black Swamp Great Swamp where Ning Fan killed the defying infant. Could it be that these blood dots record other defying infant children? Defying nascent soul, that's a good thing to increase the power of Jia Shui and cultivate the power of Yin and Yang. Moreover, if we exterminate these defiant infants, we might be able to destroy the demon race's scheme. Although I don't know what their scheme is, leaving these defiant infants alive makes me feel a little uneasy. Ning Fan suddenly sensed something. He took out a token from his storage pouch. It was the token of an 8th grade immortal guard. Within the Four Spectre sect, there was a system of 9 grade immortal guardians. In the Four Spectre sect, the higher one's cultivation was, the higher one's status was. In the Four Mystic sect, one's status was determined by one's immortal position. The 9 ranks were divided into low, middle, and high grades. 9th grade Strength Warrior, 8th grade Immortal Guard, 7th grade Deacon. In the past, Old Devil Han's immortal position was 7th grade High grade Deacon. When Ning Fan broke through to the Reckless Devil realm, Immortal Emperor Mo Zhong bestowed him the identity of a 8th grade Low grade Immortal Guard. In the past, the 2 words Immortal Guard were engraved on the token. However, after Ning Fan killed 68 poisonous dragon guards, the words engraved on the token were actually Protector, and there were 3 star marks on it. 3 star marks meant that this token was a high-grade Protector's token. 6th grade Immortal Position, All Heaven Protector. Oh. I've forgotten that killing hostile demon cultivators in the ancient savage wilderness region can give me battle merits. I didn't expect that after killing 68 poisonous dragon guards, I would actually become a high-grade 6th grade All-Heaven Protector. This immortal position isn't low, after all. Within the past 4 days, only the star constellation Ancient Emperor of the Four Spectre sect had a 3rd grade immortal position. 2nd grade 1st grade immortal position, none. 6th grade was definitely not low. Chapter 864. The 9th grade immortal position was the immortal official system inherited from the ancient immortal domain. Each grade of immortal position was divided into 3 grades, high, middle and low. 9th grade Strength Warrior, 8th grade Immortal Guard and 7th grade Mountain River Deacon were the last grade immortal positions. 6th grade All Heaven Protector, 5th grade Gold Immortal and 4th grade Heavenly Supervisor were the middle grade immortal positions. 3rd grade Star Lord, 2nd grade Tao Emperor and 1st grade Spirit Ancestor were the high grade immortal positions. In today's world, the cultivators with the highest immortal positions were the 28 ancient star constellation emperors of the 4 demonic sect. All of them were 3rd grade Star Lords. In the era of cultivation, there were no 2nd grade Tao Emperors. Naturally, there were no 1st grade Spirit Ancestors. Those with high immortal positions could directly assume a certain position and obtain power if they go to the 4 demonic sect. Those with high immortal positions could enjoy the offerings of the temples in the 4 demonic sect. They could also receive cultivation resources from the sect on a regular basis. Those with high immortal positions could even have the right to speak in some major decisions of the sect. The Old Devil was once the sect master of the Black Devil sect in the Northern Heaven. He had worked hard for his entire life, but he was only a high-grade Mountain River Deacon. His position in the sect was not high. It was not difficult to become a deacon. Even some Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators were qualified to obtain it as long as they had made contributions. However, it was extremely difficult to advance from the 6th grade to the next grade. The difference between the high grade, middle grade and low grade protectors was huge. After killing 68 poisonous dragon guards and obtaining great battle merits, his immortal position rose all the way to the high grade protector. Normally, only late shedding Kong old monsters in the 4 demonic sect could have this immortal position. If Ning Fan had more combat capabilities and his immortal position rose to the 5th grade Gold Immortal Realm, his position in the sect would be comparable to Broken Thought's old monster even if he was just a low-grade Gold Immortal Realm. The Eastern Heaven was too chaotic. The 4 demonic sect rarely intervened in the situation there. Thus, the importance of an immortal position could not be highlighted in the eastern heaven. The southern heaven and northern heaven were the most peaceful, and they were also the two immortal worlds with the strongest forces of the four demonic sect. The advancement of my immortal position is indeed an unexpected gain. A high-grade all-heaven guardian, huh? If my master knows that my immortal position is already higher than his, I wonder what kind of conflicted expression he would have. When Ning Fan thought of the old monster, his heart felt slightly warm, and he began to miss the mortal world. Unfortunately, it wasn't easy to go back to the lower realm. The cultivators of the four heavens, the demon cultivators and devil cultivators of the upper realm who possessed the immortal seed only needed to suppress their cultivation base and go through a specific passage if they wanted to go to the lower realm. However, for a cultivator like Ning Fan who was not an immortal seed, once he broke through the second step and wanted to descend to the lower realm, he would be obstructed by the power of the realm. Ordinary passageways could not allow him to return to the lower worlds. The grade of the ascension passageway in the Blood Slave Garden was also not high enough to allow Ning Fan to return to the lower worlds. Cultivators who weren't immortal seeds and ascended to immortality could only enter the lower realms through the special passageways of northern heaven and southern heavens for immortal sects. In the future, when I go to northern heaven and southern heaven, with my identity as the protector of all heaven, I can easily borrow the passage to the lower realm and go back to have a look. Ning Fan kept the token and activated the rain technique. Then, he brought the immortal lowly with him to search the unconquered barbarian region. What he was looking for was a savage beast with a reversed nascent soul. There were different grades of inverse nascent souls. The low-grade inverse nascent souls were all parasitized in Dujin savage beast's body. Middle-grade inverse nascent souls were usually parasitic in the bodies of shedding space savage beasts. There were also thought-fragmenting realm savage beasts in the ancient wild region, but there were no eternal ancient realm savage beasts. The high-grade inverse nascent souls were parasitized in a small number of thought-fragmenting savage beasts. Naturally, it was difficult for Ning Fan to obtain them. Ning Fan's goal was to seize all the low-grade inverse nascent souls in the Dujin savage beasts and the mid-grade inverse nascent souls in the early shedding void savage beasts. With the escape technique of the golden light and the senses of the heaven-peering rain technique, Ning Fan could travel freely in the barbarian region. With the help of the map scroll, he could find the inverse nascent souls and kill them. Taking away the inverse nascent souls would naturally incur the wrath of countless savage beasts. It might even trigger a beast tide to hunt him down. However, as long as he didn't kill the inverse nascent souls, old ancestor poisonous dragon wouldn't sense it for the time being. Ning Fan only sealed each of the inverse nascent souls and kept them in his storage pouch. He wasn't in a hurry to kill them. Large groups of savage beasts followed behind him, but none of them could catch up with his escape light. The Dujin savage beasts that chased after him were all killed by him. As for the shedding void savage beasts, they didn't bother with the savage beasts. 1, 2, 3. In Ning Fan's storage pouch, the number of low-grade inverse nascent souls had reached 49. Ning Fan had also found 7 early shedding void savage beasts and killed them. As for the mid-grade inverse nascent souls, he also seized 7 of them. Even though the barbarian region was vast, it was not worth mentioning when Ning Fan flew at top speed without caring about the consumption of his magic power. Ning Fan didn't kill the mid-shedding void savage beasts. The strength of the savage beasts that possessed the inverse nascent souls would greatly increase, and they could also gather their companions. It was too difficult to kill them. In just a few hours, Ning Fan had seized 56 inverse nascent souls and quietly returned to the Milan city of the North Star barbarian region. He didn't kill the inverse nascent souls immediately. Instead, he circulated his ancient demon spiritual power in the cavern dwelling in the city and used the secret word, force, to set up a grand formation that could isolate the senses of spiritual power. Then, he would kill and refine the inverse nascent souls in the grand formation. Twilight Snow Barbarian Domain of the Northern Region. Old ancestor poisonous dragon who was concentrating on refining the inverse nascent soul suddenly opened his eyes. His expression changed drastically. The inverse nascent soul that he was refining failed and exploded into a mist of blood. Before he had the time to feel sorry for the incomplete anti-nascent soul, the shock in Patriarch Poison Dragon's eyes gradually turned into frenzied rage. Just then, he sensed the death of another defiant infant. Another low-tier nascent soul defying cultivator is dead. What's going on? Before he could unleash his anger, the third, fourth, and fifth defying nascent souls died one after another. Then, more and more defiant infant souls died. In just a dozen breaths, 56 defiant infant souls had died. Among them, 49 of them were low grade and 7 of them were middle grade. 56 rebellious infants. 56 defying nascent souls died. Who can tell this old man what is going on? Who can give this old man an explanation? Patriarch Poisonous Dragon roared and leaped out of the altar palace with just one step. He was not in the mood to refine the inverse nascent soul anymore. His voice spread across the twilight snow barbaric domain. All the demon cultivators who heard his angry roar felt a shiver run down their spines. He stood in the snowy sky with his eyes wide open in anger. As Patriarch Poisonous Dragon performed hand seals in anger, wild beasts in the unconquered barbaric domain exploded one after another. Every time a wild beast exploded, a message would be transmitted into Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's sea of consciousness, turning into scenes of him chasing after Ningfan. Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's expression became darker and darker. In the end, he laughed out of extreme anger. The one who seized the defiant infant was still that ghost-masked cultivator. You're courting death. You're courting death. You're just an ant. How dare you kill the defiant infant souls again and again, hindering the great plan of our demon race. You're courting death. This time, even Lu He and Miao Yen can't save you. You've killed 56 of my defiant infant souls. I'll kill you in the ancient savage domain no matter what. Reverse spirit technique. Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's killing intent was shocking. He performed hand seals with all 10 of his fingers and a faint purple pseudo-spirit will halo spread out from his body. This was a great sensing secret technique of the true dragon clan. In the past, as long as the defiant infant soul was still in the ancient savage domain, it would not be able to escape his senses no matter which barbaric domain it was in. However, this time, the reverse spirit technique could not locate Ningfan's whereabouts at all. It was as if there was a barrier that obstructed his demon spiritual powers sensing. What's going on? Why is the reverse spirit technique ineffective? Impossible. Even if this brat hides in the medium Kiliacosm treasure, he shouldn't be able to shield himself from the reverse spirit technique's detection. Speaking of which, didn't I send the poisonous dragon guards to assassinate this brat? Why is he still alive after so many days? Could it be that the poisonous dragon guards failed to assassinate him? And, this is... Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's eyes flashed with surprise. His figure flashed and directly appeared in the palace where the life tokens of the poisonous dragon guards were kept. There were 4 void-shedding demon cultivators in the palace. Their faces were filled with worry. As soon as they saw Patriarch Poisonous Dragon, they immediately knelt and apologized. We deserve to die. The poisonous dragon guards have suffered too many casualties. We don't know how to deal with them. Please give us your instructions, old ancestor. The 4 demons did not dare to raise their heads. They did not dare to look at Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's furious eyes. Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's eyes swept across the life tokens of the 72 dragon guards. The coldness in his eyes reached its peak at this moment. 68 life tokens of the 72 dragon guards were broken. Only 4 remained intact. As expected, the poisonous dragon guards failed to assassinate Ningfan. He did not expect that the poisonous dragon guards would fail. He also did not expect that the poisonous dragon guards would suffer such heavy casualties. He had underestimated Ningfan's strength. 68 poisonous dragon guards. Good. Very good. The poisonous dragon guards that I have spent so much effort to nurture have actually suffered such heavy casualties. Why didn't you report such a grave matter to me? Why? Patriarch Poisonous Dragon laughed out of extreme anger. His killing intent spread out crazily, causing the 4 void-shedding demons' faces to turn pale. They were terrified and begged for mercy. We have already sent someone to inform you, old ancestor, is that so? So that's what that person wanted to report to me. I actually killed that person out of anger. How ironic. Patriarch Poisonous Dragon's smile became colder and colder. He was really angry and about to go crazy. No one could and no one dared to stop him. In that case, that ghost-faced kid obtained the Defying Nascent Soul map after killing the poisonous dragon guards. He killed 56 of my Defying Nascent Souls. I see. I see. Hee hee. Very good. Junior, you are very good. Very good. Guards. Quickly recall all the remaining Defying Nascent Souls. Nothing must go wrong. If another Defying Nascent Soul dies, I will bury all of you with him. Guards. Send a message to the clan. Tell them that something has happened to the Defying Nascent Souls. The plan has to be postponed. I am willing to bear all the blame. Guards. Open the illusory altar and summon the true dragon 7-arrow book. I want to kill that ghost-faced cultivator in the illusory altar. Patriarch Poisonous Dragon gave a series of orders. These orders shocked the demon clans of the wilderness. Illusory altar, true dragon 7-arrow book. Since ancient times, countless Duzhen and Shikong cultivators have been killed in the altar. The 7 illusion arrow was used to kill Duzhen and Shikong cultivators. Moreover, it could only kill cultivators of these 2 realms. If it wasn't a cultivator who had crossed the true bridge, it couldn't be killed. If it was an old monster with Dao sense protection, it couldn't be killed. In the past realm wars, countless human prodigies had been killed by the true dragon race from afar. Naturally, each time the 7-arrow book was used, it would cost a huge price. It wasn't worth it to kill ordinary Duzhen and Shikong cultivators. But now, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon couldn't care less. Ning Fan was hiding in the sea of people and he couldn't find his whereabouts. Therefore, he could only use the 7-arrow book to kill Ning Fan. Since this person can kill so many of my dragon guards, he must be at the peak of Duzhen even if he isn't an early Shikong cultivator. He can't be at a higher realm. Otherwise, with his personality, he wouldn't give up on the other Defying Nascent Souls. His cultivation base is within the killing range of the 7-arrow book. He won't be able to escape death. Old ancestor Poisonous Dragon naturally didn't know that he had overestimated Ning Fan's cultivation base. Ning Fan wasn't Duzhen at all. Unfortunately, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon didn't think that Ning Fan's cultivation base was below Duzhen. In the barbarian domain of Heaven Capital, 6 Unity Immortal Venerate's face was as dark as still water. Previously, he secretly ordered his men to check the battle merit stele to find out the identity of the cultivator who slaughtered the poisonous dragon guards. The battle points obtained by killing 68 poisonous dragon guards were naturally extremely high. Only a few people in the ancient wild domain would have their battle points changed during the war between realms. During this period of time, there was only one cultivator whose battle points skyrocketed on the battle merit stele. Without a doubt, that person was the cultivator who slaughtered the poisonous dragon guards. However, the name column of that person was blank. Nameless. This matter naturally caused a huge shock in the 5 regions of the divine race. This meant that the person who killed 68 poisonous dragon guards was only one person and not a group of people. Currently, this nameless cultivator was already a high-grade 6th rank heavenly guardian and he had an immortal position token. There was only one reason why he was nameless. The immortal position token that he had was not issued by the 4 immortal sect and his identity had never been registered in the sect. in the four heavens, there would occasionally be some cultivators who had heaven-defying luck and were able to obtain the favor of ancient cultivators and obtain an immortal position. This senior should have obtained his immortal position through this method. To be able to kill 68 poisonous dragon guards all by himself, this cultivator must be a Shidong Void cultivator. It's a pity that the battle merit stele didn't show this senior's name. Sigh. I wonder which day this senior is an expert from. Shidong. No matter which day it is, old monster Shidong will always be an old ancestor-level figure. The life immortal realm is just a transition between the first and second step. The Duzhen realm is just the beginning of the path of seeking truth. The Shidong Void realm is the true expert of the four heavens. Countless cultivators were discussing in front of the battle merit stele. Wu Chen and the others were also among them. Wu Chen's eyes were filled with admiration when he looked at the nameless position on the battle merit stele. I wonder which senior Shidong he is. He actually had such a great achievement. He almost annihilated all of the poisonous dragon guards all by himself. I really want to see the scene of this senior slaying demons with my own eyes. Wu Chen was fascinated by the nameless senior. Naturally, he did not know that the nameless senior was Ning Fan. Hee. This person's 6th grade immortal position was obtained with battle merit. Of course, it's effective. But who exactly is this person? To be able to achieve such an outstanding achievement, he should at least be a Shidong Void cultivator. Unfortunately, this person is just a Shidong Void cultivator. However, he went to provoke Du Longzi. Even if he hides at the ends of the world, as long as he is still in the desolate land, he won't be able to escape death. Du Longzi's 7 Truth 7 illusionary arrows are specially used to kill Shidong Void cultivators. Fellow Taoist 6 directions, should we find this person and help him get through this tribulation? Venerable Miao Yen giggled. 6 directions Immortal Venerable's expression was still gloomy. He was not concerned about whether Ning Fan would be killed by the 7 Arrows book or not. The only thing he was worried about was that Ning Fan's action might trigger a realm war. However, it seemed like old ancestor Du Longzi did not have the intention to start a realm war. That's good, that Shidong Void cultivator doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He went to provoke Du Longzi. If he dies under the 7 Arrows book, he only has himself to blame. Why should I save him? If it wasn't for the fact that this incident hasn't escalated, I would have found this person and punished him severely even if Du Longzi didn't kill him. It's a serious crime to go and provoke the demon race when it's not the time of the realm war. 6 directions Immortal Venerable let out a cold harumph. Previously, he had the intention to punish Ning Fan severely. However, he had no choice but to give up because he could not find out Ning Fan's identity. Hee. Fellow Taoist 6 directions isn't willing to help, but I am very willing to help this person. How many years has it been since I met a Shidong who dares to provoke Du Longzi? Venerable Miao Yen giggled and walked out of the main hall. No one knew where she went. As for 6 directions Immortal Venerable, he slowly closed his eyes and smiled disdainfully. He did not think that Miao Yan's strength was enough to stop Du Longzi's 7 Arrows book. In his opinion, it would be fine if Du Longzi does not use the 7 Arrows book. If he uses it, Ning Fan would certainly die. An urgent report that was as thin as a piece of paper spread to every cultivation city in the 5 regions of the god race. A piece of shocking news spread to the ears of countless cultivators of the 4 heavens. The poisonous dragon guards who had made a name for themselves in the previous realm war were actually killed by a mysterious Shidong Void cultivator alone. In the 5 barbarian domains of the god race, every cultivator of the 4 heavens was discussing the identity of the mysterious Shidong Void cultivator. However, no one could guess who that mysterious Shidong Void cultivator was. In a tavern in Mulan City, a few cultivators were discussing the identity of the mysterious Shidong Void cultivator with saliva flying in all directions. All of the poisonous dragon guards are elite experts of the true dragon clan. Out of the 72 poisonous dragon guards, 68 of them were killed by that mysterious senior alone. Needless to say, that senior must be a Shidong Void old monster, and his cultivation base is at least at the mid-Shidong Void realm. That's right. I suppose this has already angered old ancestor Du Longzi. If he uses the True Dragon 7 Arrows book, the consequences will be unimaginable. I'm afraid that senior is going to be in danger. The 7 Truth 7 illusory arrow can kill people across realms. It's extraordinarily terrifying. Du Zhen, Shidong Void cultivator, will definitely die. I hope that senior can avoid this calamity. In the tavern, Ning Fan sat alone in a corner, listening to the discussions of the cultivators. During the past month, he had refined all of the inverse nascent souls with the help of his demon spiritual power. The power of his blood had greatly improved, and the progress of his yin-yang battle technique had also skyrocketed to 71%. After refining the inverse nascent souls, his strength had improved tremendously. At the same time, he had also destroyed the hidden scheme of the demon race. Ning Fan should have been happy, but at this moment, he could not feel happy at all. During the past month, Ning Fan would feel dizzy every day. Inexplicable illusions would often appear in front of his eyes. At first, the feeling was light. However, as time went by, it gradually became heavier to the point where Ning Fan could no longer ignore it. With Ning Fan's eyesight, how could he not see that he was suffering from a curse technique? The curse technique used curses to harm people and kill them without leaving a trace. After realizing that he was suffering from a curse technique, Ning Fan immediately began to gather information. Only then did he know that old ancestor Du Longzi had a 7 Arrows book. With the 7 illusions curse technique bow and arrow, he could kill people outside the myriad of regions. Every time Patriarch Poisonous Dragon used the 7 Arrow scroll to kill someone, he would erect a scarecrow and seal the aura of the person he wanted to kill into it. Every day, he would sacrifice the blood of 10,000 demons to taint the scarecrow, causing its host to be bewitched by the power of truth and illusion. When the time is right, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon will shoot the 7 True 7 illusion arrow to kill people across realms. Fortunately, my cultivation isn't within the range of the 7 Truth 7 illusionary arrows. What's more troublesome is that as long as the scarecrow is not removed, I will be in a daze all day long. Although it's not life-threatening, it will greatly affect my cultivation. However, being cursed by the power of true illusion actually has an unexpected benefit. Every time I break through the illusion, my understanding of the word true is actually increasing bit by bit. Ning Fan got up and walked out of the tavern, returning to his cave dwelling. Lu Yan had already been released, and she was staying with the immortal lowly in a cave to the side. One was nourishing the star plate, while the other was cultivating by devouring lightning. He sat alone in the cave with his eyes closed, allowing his mind to merge with the true illusion power that had locked onto him. He was refining the true illusion power in his body bit by bit. A question kept echoing in his mind: what is true? In a hazy state, Ning Fan saw a bridge. It was shrouded in thick mist, making it hard to see clearly. That was the true bridge. After crossing it, Ning Fan would be able to advance to the true crossing realm. Unfortunately, with Ning Fan's current understanding of the word true, looking at the bridge was like looking at flowers through the mist. He could not find the location of the true bridge. It's not easy to cross the true crossing realm. Ning Fan calmed himself down and refined the additional true illusion power in his body bit by bit. The Twilight Snow barbaric domain of the northern region. Old ancestor Poisonous Dragon stared at the scarecrow on the altar ferociously. His eyes gradually turned cold. For the past month, he had been sending people to sacrifice the blood of tens of thousands of demons every day to bewitch Ning Fan with the power of true illusion. Now, the time was ripe. It was time to eliminate Ning Fan with the 7 True Illusion arrow. Someone, unseal the ancestral soul pond under the altar and summon the spirit of the ancestral bow. Chapter 865. There was an ancient blood pool under the illusory altar that was heavily sealed. The blood pool contained the remnant souls of 1 billion true dragon demon cultivators. They provided energy for the blood pool and nourished the 7-colored light at the bottom of the pool. These remnant souls had hollow eyes and most of their cultivation bases were at the first step. Only 6,000 of them had the aura of the second step. Since the First Realm War, every time an expert from the true dragon clan died in the savage ancient land, a trace of their remnant soul would be absorbed into the blood pool. This blood pool was called the ancestral soul pool. It was the place where the true dragon clan nurtured their secret treasure. As the seal on the ancient blood pool was lifted, a 7-colored light flew out from the bottom of the pool. The ordinary demon cultivators could not see what the light was at all. When the light soared into the sky, a terrifying aura that could take away one's soul immediately pressed down on the entire illusory altar. There was a straw doll on the illusory altar that was covered in a bloody light. There was an old man with purple hair and dragon horns standing 30 feet away from the straw doll. He was Patriarch Dulong. There were more than 100 demon cultivators from the dragon clan standing behind Patriarch Dulong. All of them had a cultivation base at the second step. However, the instant the aura descended, all the demon cultivators except for Patriarch Dulong turned red. They felt a heavy pressure as if they were being suppressed by a mountain. They knelt down toward the light one after another. Only then did the aura decrease slightly. The aura continued to spread to the entire Twilight Snow barbaric domain. All the demon cultivators in the domain, regardless of whether they were from the true dragon clan or not, could not withstand the aura and knelt down in the snow that filled the sky. Is this the aura of the ancestral bow spirit? How terrifying! Countless demon cultivators lowered their heads in fear and trepidation. They did not dare to look at the light. Even Patriarch Dulong, who was an immortal venerable, did not dare to be disrespectful when he looked at the light. Patriarch Dulong, who had always been arrogant, actually bowed to the ground at the light and said respectfully, "Junior, Dulongzi, pleads for the ancestral bow to appear." "Humph. Do you want to borrow my strength to kill people again? Think about how glorious I was in the past. I followed the ancestral dragon to conquer the world and all the immortals I killed were ancient immortals. But now, I only have spirit bodies left and I have to kill those juniors like Du Zhen and Shi Kong. I'm as lonely as snow. My life is really as lonely as snow." In the snowy sky above, the rainbow light receded to reveal a longbow with dragon horns that was covered in purplish golden scales. The body of the bow was like a crescent moon, and there were several gem-like dragon pearls embedded in it. The bowstring was silver in color, and it was flashing with a cold light. The one who spoke was the dragon horn longbow. Upon hearing the dragon horn longbow's words, Dulongzi smiled bitterly, but he did not dare to interrupt. "Hee, I'm in a good mood today, so I'll help you this once. Junior, do you know what price you have to pay to borrow this old man's power?" Ancestor Poison Dragon respectfully replied, "After I kill this person, I will offer 1,000 human female cultivators to the ancestral soul pond for you to enjoy." "Hee, you are indeed sensible." The dragon horn longbow no longer spoke. With a slight tremble, it immediately lost its ability to float and fell down. Ancestor Poison Dragon did not dare to be negligent. He immediately bent his palm and caught the longbow. When he looked at the scarecrow again, his eyes were filled with a cold light. "Ghost face, today is the day you die. One true and one illusion. Torch Dragon appears." Ancestor Poison Dragon held the longbow in one hand and made a hand seal with the other. He muttered an incantation, and a million zhang long shadow of an ice dragon immediately appeared in the snowy sky. The cold chi that was emitted from the shadow caused the ground of the entire Twilight Snow barbaric domain to freeze 3 feet. Every breath of the ice dragon emitted a chilling pressure. In front of this shadow, all the demon cultivators seemed so tiny. The ice dragon's cold demonic chi spread out of the Twilight Snow barbaric domain and spread all the way to the entire wilderness. At this moment, snowflakes began to fall in the entire 42 barbaric domains of the wilderness. In the heaven capital barbaric domain, 6 Unity Immortal Venerate raised his eyelids and shook his head disapprovingly. The candle bow has appeared. I'm afraid that Wuming Shikong won't be able to escape death. On another short mountain nearby, Immortal Venerate Miao Yin had already set up an altar. She held the yellow immortal talisman in one hand and the acquired peachwood sword in the other. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a hint of seriousness. Poison Dragon has still decided to use the candle bow. I wonder if I can stop him from killing with my abilities. In the 5 regions of the god race, countless cultivators of the 4 heavens walked out of their cave dwellings. Their eyes were filled with shock when they saw the falling snow. There was no snow in the southern region. If the falling snow appeared, it would definitely be the candle bow that would kill with 7 arrows. Sigh. It seems like the matter of Senior Wuming annihilating the poisonous dragon guards has angered Ancestor Poison Dragon. Now that the 7 Arrows book is out, that Senior Shikong will be in danger. In the Mulan city, Ning Fan, who was sitting cross-legged and refining the true and illusion power, suddenly opened his eyes. He naturally sensed the falling snow outside. The 7 true 7 illusionary arrows. Are they coming? Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. He walked out of his cave dwelling and ordered Lu Yen and Immortal Loli to stay in the city. Then, he rode on a golden rainbow and flew to a wasteland that was filled with skeletons in the North Star barbaric domain. He couldn't avoid what should come. He was going to face old Ancestor Poison Dragon's 7 Arrows book at this place. It was a battle between Ning Fan and old Ancestor Poison Dragon that had crossed countless barbaric domains. The Arrow book shows its spirit. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon took out a jade book from his storage pouch and tossed it to the sky. Then, he made a hand seal. That jade book only had 7 pages. Each page was a 7-colored arrow that could be used together with the dragon horn longbow to kill people across 10,000 domains. Ghost face, die. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon's furious voice spread across the entire Twilight Snow barbaric domain. He bent his palm and one of the pages of the jade book immediately turned into a 7-colored arrow that was sometimes real and sometimes illusory, flying into old Ancestor Poison Dragon's hand. When the silver string was released, the true and illusion world was born. The 7-colored light shone and the killing intent descended. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon drew his bow and shot an arrow at the filthy blood grassman. The 7-colored arrow light left the bowstring and pierced through the filthy blood grassman. All of a sudden, the arrow light disappeared. Ning Fan, who was far away in the North Star barbaric domain, instantly felt an unprecedented sense of danger. The snowy sky above his head suddenly tore open a pitch-black spatial crack and a ray of 7-colored arrow light pierced through the air. At the moment when the 7-colored arrow light approached him, Ning Fan felt an unprecedented sense of danger. It was as if he was not facing an arrow shadow but a gigantic dragon that was looking down upon the common people. The arrow light was too fast. Before Ning Fan could react, he already felt a sharp pain in his chest. The arrow light had already pierced through his body. The moment he was hit by the arrow, his face immediately turned pale. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and was forced to retreat. If ordinary cultivators like Du Zhen and Shi Kong are hit by this arrow, they would be severely injured even if they don't die. However, Ning Fan was not Du Zhen. Even though this arrow had caused him injuries, it was not as severe as he imagined. Black Star Technique. Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at the sky. Immediately, 83,000 pitch-black stars appeared in the snowy sky. Under the shine of the black starlight, the bloody hole on Ning Fan's chest healed bit by bit. His injuries were completely healed in an instant. However, rays of 7-colored light were wreaking havoc inside his body. They were left behind by the 7-colored arrow. To true immortals who had crossed the true bridge, the 7-colored light was extremely destructive. It could destroy the true bridge, destroy one's Tao cultivation and take away one's life. However, to cultivators like Ning Fan who had never crossed the true bridge, it did not cause too much damage. It only made him feel a little dizzy. What a powerful arrow light! If I have already attained the Duzhen realm, even if I don't die under this arrow, I would certainly be severely injured and on the verge of death. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. He scanned his surroundings but he did not find the seven-colored arrow that had pierced through his body. The arrow had already returned to old ancestor Du Long's hand. Like a Tao weapon, he could retrieve it with just a thought. The arrow had already flown away. Suddenly, waves of immortal music resounded in the snowy sky. Then, a gigantic shadow of a thousand-armed deity appeared. It raised its hand and grabbed at the direction where the arrow light was shot from. Ning Fan's eyes changed slightly. This immortal music and the shadow of the deity seemed to be cast by a powerful cultivator with the purpose of protecting him. It's the chi of immortal venerable Wan Gu. It's coming from the direction of the heaven capital barbarian domain. Is it the human race's immortal venerable Wan Gu who wants to help me resist the seven arrows? I wonder who it is. It's a pity that the arrow light of the seven arrow book is too fast. It couldn't be defended by this person. What a powerful seven arrow book. Even immortal venerable Wan Gu couldn't defend against it. In a faraway place, venerable Miao Yen who was casting her technique was shocked. So fast. Even with my casting speed, I can't stop the arrow light. But fortunately, that nameless cultivator didn't seem to be killed by the arrow. Next time, I will definitely stop the arrow light. In the heaven capital barbarian domain, 6 Unity Immortal Venerable shook his head slightly. He already knew that venerable Miao Yen wouldn't be able to stop the seven-colored arrow. But to his surprise, that nameless cultivator of mysterious origin wasn't killed by the arrow. Since ancient times, there aren't many Duzhen Shikong cultivators who survived a single arrow from the seven-arrow book. This person should be proud of himself for surviving after taking a single arrow. Unfortunately, when the 3 arrows are shot at the same time, this person will certainly die even if he has the cultivation base of a peak Shikong. 6 Unity Immortal Venerable muttered to himself indifferently. In the twilight snow barbarian domain, old ancestor poisonous dragon harumphed coldly on the illusory true altar. The bloody light on the straw doll had yet to disperse. He didn't expect that Ning Fan could survive after taking a single arrow. Humph. Can't I kill this kid with just the power of a single arrow? 3 truths and 3 illusions. Li Zhu Ning. As old ancestor poisonous dragon changed his hand seal, the gigantic shadow of the ice dragon in the sky immediately turned into the shadow of an ancient copper lamp. On the copper lamp, there was an unlit candle made from the fat of the demon dragon. As the shadow changed, the aura force of the dragon horn longbow immediately skyrocketed. Old ancestor poisonous dragon bent his palm and waved. Another 2 pages of the jade book turned into 7-colored arrow light. Together with the previous arrow light, 3 arrows were shot out by old ancestor poisonous dragon. At the same time, on the wasteland of bones, Ning Fan's heart was filled with warning signs. At this moment, 3 spatial rifts were torn open in the snowy sky and 3 rays of 7-colored arrow light flashed from them. Even with Ning Fan's cultivation base, he still couldn't defend himself in time. However, this time, venerated Miao Yen summoned the Thousand Arms God's Will and blocked in front of Ning Fan. The Thousand Arms God's Will was too slow to catch the arrow light. However, it tried to stop the arrow light with its body. The 3 arrow light were blocked by the gigantic shadow of the God's Will in front of Ning Fan. The gigantic shadow of the God's Will was one of venerated Miao Yan's abilities. Even an attack from an ancient immortal venerable might not be able to break the defense of the God's Will. However, the 3 arrow light seemed to be able to directly penetrate the gigantic shadow and penetrate Ning Fan's body, leaving 3 bloody holes on his chest. Damn it. I can't stop it. Venerated Miao Yen bit her lips unwillingly. All of a sudden, she looked surprised. Oh. The 3 7-colored true illusion arrows actually couldn't kill that cultivator. Knowing that her ability could not stop the descent of the 7-colored arrows, venerated Miao Yen sighed softly and withdrew her ability. Her face was filled with regret. So what if Ning Fan didn't die from the 3 arrows? When the 5th arrow is shot, he would most likely still die. I can't help him. What a pity. Venerated Miao Yen sighed faintly. He didn't die after the 3 arrows were shot at the same time. Strange. But if the 5th arrow is shot, there's no way he can survive. Venerated 6 Unity Immortal finally opened her eyes and frowned. On the True Illusion sacrificial altar, Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon withdrew the 3 7-colored arrows and stared at the straw doll whose bloody light had yet to disperse. Behind him, the demonic cultivators all looked shocked. The person whom Old Ancestor wants to kill didn't die from the 3 true illusion arrows. Many of the demon cultivators were secretly shocked. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon's expression turned slightly unsightly. He didn't expect that even the 3 arrows from the 7 Arrows book couldn't kill Ning Fan. Since ancient times, there had never been any Du Zhen or Shi Kong who could survive the attack of the 3 7-colored arrows. Could it be that this person isn't Shi Kong but Broken Thought? No, it can't be. If it's Broken Thought, my 7-colored arrows wouldn't be able to hurt him. But he didn't die. Perhaps this person has some divine ability to protect his life. Humph. Is Miao Yen helping him? Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon directly attributed the reason why Ning Fan didn't die to venerated Miao Yen. He naturally didn't expect that Ning Fan wasn't a Du Zhen cultivator at all. This was the reason why he didn't die after being shot by the 3 arrows. Humph. So what if Miao Yen helped him? He still can't escape the fate of death. 5 True Illusions. Candle Flame Ignite. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon changed his hand seal again. The shadow of the candle in the sky suddenly lit up with a pale golden demonic flame. The aura of the dragonhorn longbow rose again. This time, Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon took 5 7-colored arrows and shot them at the same time. This time, the arrow light carried scorching heat. On the wasteland of bones, Ning Fan had just used the Black Star technique to heal the bloody hole in his chest. The shadow of the 1,000-armed god in the sky was fading away bit by bit. Ning Fan knew that the immortal venerable knew that he couldn't stop the arrow light, so he retracted his shadow. Even that immortal venerable couldn't stop the 7-colored arrows. Fortunately, I'm not a Du Zhen cultivator. Otherwise, I would have died after taking 3 arrows and the collapse of the True Determination Bridge. 5 spatial cracks suddenly appeared in the sky, shooting out 5 rays of arrow light. As soon as the arrow light appeared, the demonic flame immediately ignited in the sky. Green light flickered in Ning Fan's eyes. Before the spatial cracks appeared, he had already stretched out his palm and made a premonition, making a grabbing motion in front of him. At the next moment, 4 rays of sword light pierced through Ning Fan's chest, but one of the arrow light was caught by Ning Fan's hand. The arrow light that venerated Miao Yen couldn't catch in time was actually caught by Ning Fan. Unfortunately, the arrow light that was caught by Ning Fan trembled and broke free from Ning Fan's palm. It pierced through his shoulder, leaving a bloody hole where white bones could be seen. Even if Ning Fan wasn't Du Zhen, the injuries he suffered from the 5 arrows couldn't be ignored. The wounds on the arrows were burning with purplish golden demonic flames, preventing Ning Fan's wounds from healing. Even the Black Star technique could only slightly suppress the demonic flames. It could not heal them at all. Ning Fan tried to extinguish the demonic flames on his wounds, but to his surprise, he realized that he could not put them out. This is the Samsara fire. Ning Fan sucked in a breath of cold air. From the demonic flames, he sensed a trace of samsara power. It was very weak, but it couldn't be ignored. After withdrawing his astonished expression, Ning Fan's eyes turned grim. He activated a trace of samsara power in his body and finally extinguished the demonic flames. At this moment, the 5 bloody holes on his body began to heal bit by bit under the black starlight. This young man actually didn't get burned to death by the flame of the candle bow and arrow. Venerated Miao Yan's mouth was slightly agape. She was so shocked that she could not close her mouth. She had never seen any cultivator who could resist the flame of the candle bow and arrow. If it wasn't because the candle bow only had its bow spirit left, even an immortal venerated like her would find it hard to resist the flame of the candle bow and arrow. This time, the 6-unity immortal venerated Miao Yan's expression finally changed. He took a step out of the cave and stood in the snowy sky. At this moment, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon looked at the filthy blood grass in disbelief. His expression was extremely unpleasant. Impossible. Even with Miao Yan's help, it's impossible for this young man to survive the flame of the arrow. Why didn't he die? Moreover, my 7-colored true illusion arrows actually sensed something. At the moment the arrows fell, one of the 7-colored arrows was actually caught by this young man's palm. Even ordinary immortal venerated immortals couldn't catch the light of the arrow. How did this young man manage to catch it? Is this a coincidence or did he predict the path of the 7-colored arrow? All along, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon had been looking down on Ning Fan. After all, there was a huge gap between their cultivation bases. However, at this moment, that look of disdain gradually faded and was replaced by an even more stubborn killing intent. I don't believe that this young man can still survive after firing 7 arrows at the same time. 7 truths, 7 illusions. Candle flame extinguish. The shadow of the candle flame was extinguished at this moment, emitting a deathly chi that felt like the end of the world. At this moment, all 7 pages of the jade booklet turned into 7-colored arrow light and were shot out by old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. When the 7 arrows were fired at the same time, the white snow in the sky above the barbarian region turned black. An unprecedented sense of danger rose in Ning Fan's heart. This time, he did not even see the spatial crack clearly and his body was penetrated by the 7 arrows. He first felt the feeling of being penetrated. Then, he saw the scene of the spatial crack and the arrows being shot out. The blood that flowed out of the 7 bloody holes on his body was all black. The raging black arrow chi spread inside Ning Fan's body, crazily taking away all of his life force. His face began to age and his skin began to wrinkle. Death chi constantly spread out from his body. The 7 arrows did not cause any damage to Ning Fan but they left a fatal death chi in Ning Fan's body. The samsara power in the death chi was a few times stronger than the samsara power in Ning Fan's body. It was beyond the range that Ning Fan could withstand. This young man will probably die under the death chi of the 7 arrows. The 6-unity immortal venerable muttered to himself with a firm tone. However, at the next moment, his eyes widened and he sucked in a cold breath. The black snow that engulfed the entire barbarian region collapsed at this moment. On the wasteland of bones, Ning Fan gave up the idea of using the samsara power to resist the samsara death chi. His eyes flashed with a hint of scarlet. His body emitted a sizzling aurora light. The samsara power in his body was not enough to resist the samsara death chi. Thus, he used the tribulation sense power that was at the same level as him to resist the samsara power. Relying on the tribulation sense power in his body, Ning Fan directly swallowed the samsara death chi into his bloodline and refined it. At the moment when the death chi dissipated, Ning Fan's appearance returned to normal. The 7 wounds on his body healed under the black starlight. As for the black snow that covered the sky, it collapsed at this moment. So what if I shoot 7 arrows at the same time? Ning Fan flicked his finger and 7 rays of black and red aurora light immediately shot out from his finger, landing on the 7 arrow shadows that were about to retreat. Its prediction again. Normally, the arrow shadows would not be damaged by ordinary attacks. However, after being hit by the barbaric flash, tiny cracks immediately appeared on them. When the 7 arrows returned to Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon's hand, his eyes were filled with astonishment. Ning Fan had continuously predicted the return route of the 7 arrows and displayed the barbaric flash which was purer than that of a savage beast, causing damage to the 7 arrows. How is this possible? I shot 7 arrows at the same time but they still failed to kill him. Instead, the arrows were damaged by him. Could it be that I can't kill him even with the power of the 7 arrows book? I don't believe it. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon's eyes were filled with astonishment. He actually became absent-minded for a moment. At the next moment, his eyes flashed with hesitation, as if there was something that he could not decide on. After a few breaths, he let out a cold and sinister laugh. I didn't expect that there would actually be someone in this world who could resist the 7 arrows book head-on. Since I can't kill you, I will kill your closest kin. No matter what, I must vent this hatred in my heart. Ancestor Bao, please help me. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon took out the longbow made of dragon horn. In the 7-colored light, the longbow turned into the appearance of a hunchbacked old man. Junior, are you sure you want to use this method to deal with a human ant? The hunchbacked old man picked his ears with a wretched expression. I'm sure. Ancestor Bao, please help me. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon said with killing intent. Fine. Since that's the case, I will help you. Swallow. The hunchbacked old man suddenly opened his mouth and swallowed the 7 colored true illusion arrows into his stomach. Then, he raised his hand and grabbed at the ancestral soul pond below the altar. He actually extracted all the 1 billion remnant souls in the pond and fused them into his body. At the next moment, the hunchbacked old man turned into a ray of 7-colored aurora and shot towards the grassy figure. As soon as the 7-colored aurora shot into the grassy figure's body, it immediately tore the space apart and appeared in the sky above the wasteland of bones. A trace of Ning Fan's blood that spilled on the ground was absorbed by the 7-colored aurora. The 7-colored aurora turned into a longbow made of dragon horn. On the silver string, there were 7 arrow shadows aimed at the void space. Instead of aiming at Ning Fan, the arrows were aimed at his closest kin. The 7 arrows book could kill people across 10,000 regions. Since the bow had already absorbed Ning Fan's blood, it could shoot the 7 arrows consecutively with the help of its senses. It was enough to kill 7 of Ning Fan's closest kin. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon couldn't use this ability. Only the bow's spirit could use it. Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. What surprised him was that the 7 arrows were not aimed at him. At the next moment, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with unimaginable anger. After absorbing a trace of his blood, the 7 arrows actually had a trace of the chi of the Rain World's realm force. Ning Fan suddenly felt his heart palpitate. These 7 arrows were not going to attack him. Instead, they were going to attack his closest kin and his lover in the Rain World. The longbow made a human-like, contemptuous laugh. That laugh was slightly surprised. Hee hee. Once this arrow is shot, this junior's closest kin will certainly die. I wonder which one of the 4 heavens will this junior's closest kin be. The longbow let out a cold laugh. Of course, it didn't know that the direction of the arrows was not the 4 heavens but the mortal world. Unfortunately, it didn't have the chance to shoot the arrows because a reckless figure had already stood in front of the 7 arrows. That figure's eyes were like a devil's and his killing intent was like the ice of the 9 nether worlds. If you dare to shoot this arrow, I will bury the entire true dragon clan with you. The moment this voice fell, the space around the dragon horn longbow seemed to freeze and was forcefully locked in place. Countless black lines shot out from the void. All of them were condensed from the power of the void, binding the longbow tightly. This was the heaven sealing technique that Ning Fan used after comprehending the prestige secret art and the force secret art. It was just to stop the 7 arrows from being shot out. At the next moment, Ning Fan activated the power of the brutal flash. It turned into a giant black-red claw and grabbed the longbow fiercely, almost breaking the longbow into two. The longbow let out a miserable shriek. In great shock, it tried to break free from the control of the black lines and the giant black-red claw, but it realized that it couldn't break free at all. As soon as the longbow was trapped, the brutal flash turned into a barrier under the activation of the Force secret art, imprisoning the longbow and the 7 arrows. What imprisoned the longbow was not only the power of the brutal flash but also an unimaginably terrifying demonic power that was like burning obsession. How is this possible? Even an immortal emperor won't be able to stop me from shooting an arrow when I personally take action. How could this young man stop me? Wait. This is the aura force of ancestral blood. This young man actually has ancestral-level demon blood in his body and he actually ignited it. Is he crazy? He actually ignited his ancestral blood. On the illusory true altar, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon's eyes widened. He was too shocked that he could not speak. Even the two immortal venerables, Miao Yan and Lu He, certainly could not understand how Ning Fan could capture the Bao spirit of the ancestral Bao. However, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon saw some clues. Heaven sealing technique. The ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan. This young man has actually cultivated the strongest secret technique of the Eastern demon ancestor. Moreover, this young man is actually a Fu Li clan demon ancestor who possesses the ancestral blood. In order to stop the ancestral Bao from shooting, he actually ignited his ancestral blood and displayed the heaven sealing technique. Madman. This man is a madman. Old ancestor Poisonous Dragon could not imagine why there would be a demon cultivator with ancestral blood like Ning Fan in the 4 heavens. Moreover, he even belonged to the forbidden Fu Li clan. Moreover, he could not imagine that Ning Fan would actually be so crazy to stop the ancestral Bao without hesitating to sacrifice a drop of ancestral blood. Ancestral blood. Old ancestor Poisonous Dragon was one of the demon ancestors of the true dragon clan. The grade of his demon blood was also at the ancestral level. However, he only had a drop of ancestral blood. If it was him, he certainly would not be willing to ignite his ancestral blood. However, Ning Fan was willing to do so. Because Ning Fan had already gone mad. In the sky above the wasteland of bones, Ning Fan's eyes burst out with terrifying killing intent. He directly ignited a drop of ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan and burned it to ashes. With his current cultivation base, he was not able to stop the ancestral Bao at all. Forcefully stopping the ancestral Bao would result in an extremely terrifying backlash that directly injured him. However, when he saw that the ancestral Bao was trying to harm his kin in the rain world, he did not hesitate to sacrifice a drop of ancestral blood and displayed the heaven sealing technique that was beyond his limit. He would not allow the ancestral Bao to shoot out these 7 arrows. Absolutely not. Ning Fan could tolerate Du Longzi using the 7 arrows book to deal with him. After all, since they were enemies, he should naturally resort to all means. However, Du Longzi should not have targeted Ning Fan's kin. Everyone had an inviolable forbidden place. Du Longzi had touched Ning Fan's reverse scale. Once his blood was ignited, he must make Du Longzi pay the price. By the order of the Fu Li demon ancestor, demon arrows, break. Ning Fan shouted. Immediately, a gigantic shadow of a black butterfly appeared between heaven and earth. The might of the ancestral blood turned heaven and earth upside down. As soon as this aura force spread out, the layer of demon power defense on the surface of the 7 arrows immediately cracked. Bang! The power of the calamity blood in Ning Fan's body was pushed to its limit. The barbaric flash pierced through the 7 arrows and penetrated their insides, causing them to explode from the inside out, causing the 7 colored arrows that were suppressed to collapse one after another. When the 7 arrows collapsed, 7 rays of arrow light immediately dispersed and tried to escape. However, Ning Fan sneered and swallowed them into his stomach. The 7 colored arrow spirit, huh? What an unexpected gain. You won't be able to escape. What Ning Fan swallowed into his stomach was actually the 7-colored arrow spirit among the 7 rays of arrow light. As Ning Fan activated his tribulation sense, the spiritual consciousness of the arrow spirit was directly erased. Ordinary divine abilities might not be able to do this, but the power of tribulation will could. Bang! 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 At the moment when the spiritual consciousness of the 7 arrow spirits was erased, old ancestor Du Long felt as if he was hit by an invisible giant fist. He retreated from the illusory true altar and suffered a backlash. The 7 true 7 illusion arrow was actually destroyed. My 7 truth 7 illusionary arrows were actually destroyed by an ant. My 7-colored arrow spirit was actually taken away by an ant. Old ancestor Du Long's furious roar spread across the entire Twilight Snow barbaric domain. He had never expected that his 7 true 7 illusion arrow would be destroyed by Ning Fan. Even an ancient immortal venerate should not have the ability to destroy an arrow. What does this young man have? Where did his barbaric flash power come from? He is not a savage beast at all. Even if he is, he should not have such a pure barbaric flash power. At this moment, the dragon horn ancestral bow felt fear towards a junior for the first time in its life. Currently, it was trapped by the barbaric flash barrier. It had tried several times but it still could not escape. If it tries to break through the barrier by force, it would be killed by the barbaric flash barrier. Human ant. How dare you? Not only did you destroy the 7 arrows book, but you even set up a barrier to trap me. Do you know who I am? If you dare to touch a single hair of mine, what awaits you will be the wrath of the entire true dragon clan. Let me go at once. Otherwise. Noisy. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. He clenched his 5 fingers and the barbaric flash barrier immediately shrunk, turning into lines of black and red runes that were engraved on the ancestral bow. Immediately, the ancestral bow let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered. Gradually, it was sealed by the runes of the barbaric flash and could no longer make any sound. Once again, he used his demon spiritual power to plant a restriction on the ancestral bow. Then, he raised his hand and kept the completely sealed ancestral bow into his storage pouch. The spirit of the ancestral bow was directly sealed and taken away by him. Using the heaven sealing technique, setting up a barrier with the barbaric flash barrier, destroying the 7 true 7 illusion arrow and sealing the ancestral bow. A series of actions were all completed in just a few breaths. Ning Fan's cold eyes looked towards the direction of the northern territory. With the might of his ancestral blood, he seemed to be able to see through everything and directly saw old ancestor Du Long who was standing on the illusion altar. Son of the poisonous dragon. I will remember what you did to me today. I will certainly take revenge in the future. A wave of fully ancestral demon aura spread across the 7 regions of the demon race. Countless demon cultivators with low cultivation bases were directly pressed to the ground by this aura force. They could not move at all and their eyes were filled with fear. This voice kept reverberating in old ancestor Du Long's ears, forming a series of demon power storms that exploded in his sea of consciousness. In terms of the aura force of his demon blood alone, Ning Fan was far superior to old ancestor Du Long. The latter only had a single drop of true dragon ancestral blood while Ning Fan still had 3 drops of demon ancestral blood even if he destroyed 1 drop. Old ancestor Du Long who had already suffered a backlash was suddenly attacked. He immediately coughed out blood and retreated. His eyes were filled with shock. He could sense that Ning Fan's cultivation base was not high. He was just a junior. However, with the madness of burning his ancestral blood and the remaining demon aura force of the ancestral blood in his body, Ning Fan actually managed to cross the boundary and hurt him with just a roar. After burning 1 drop of ancestral blood, this person actually still has 3 drops of ancestral blood in his body. How is this possible? The Fu Li clan, which has been extinct for a long time, actually still has such a terrifying demon ancestor left behind. A wave of cold qi suddenly rushed up to the top of his head from beneath his feet, causing old ancestor Du Long, who had a cultivation base at the immortal venerable realm, to tremble. Ning Fan will remember what you did to me today. I will certainly take revenge in the future. It was unknown if he was afraid of Ning Fan's madness after burning his blood or the potential of his demon blood. Or perhaps he was enraged by Ning Fan's crazy actions of destroying the 7 arrows and seizing the ancestral bow. Old ancestor Du Long forcefully calmed his mind. His eyes were filled with killing intent. With a flash, he actually disregarded his injuries and rushed towards the direction of the North Star barbaric region. I must take back the ancestral bow and arrow spirit. I must kill Ning Fan. I must kill this hidden danger in the cradle. At all costs. We must kill this brat. Chapter 866. The land of the wild 42 regions began to tremble, and the roars of ancient beasts could be heard everywhere. The boorish wasteland was the ancient battlefield of the divine demon realm. It was rumored that every time an ancient immortal unleashed all his killing intent here, such a phenomenon would occur. In the god race's 5 regions, countless cultivators from the 4 heavens looked towards the north, shock in their eyes. They knew that the one who had caused this wild phenomenon was the monster race's immortal sovereign, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. They didn't understand why Patriarch Poison Dragon's 7 arrows had caused the snow phenomenon to collapse. They didn't understand why Patriarch Poison Dragon would be so angry, or why he would erupt with such terrifying killing intent that caused the entire wilderness to tremble. In the sky above the heaven capital barbarian domain, the 2 immortal venerables, Miao Yen and Lu He, had already gathered. Their gazes were solemn. They knew a little more than ordinary people. They knew that Ning Fan was not killed by the 7 arrows book. However, they did not know why old ancestor Poisonous Dragon would erupt with such a strong killing intent. The 2 of them did not know about Ning Fan destroying the 7 arrows and seizing the ancestral bow. Du Longzi has unleashed such a terrifying killing intent towards the southern territory. It seems like we can't avoid this confrontation. Is it because the 7 arrow book can't kill that mysterious Shikong, so he wants to do it himself? I can't stop him from using the 7 arrow book to kill people, but I can't just watch him commit murder in the 5 regions of the god race. Gaochen barbaric domain, right? Does fellow Taoist Lu He want to go with us? Miao Yen giggled. Of course we have to go. We're under the orders of the Dark Sea sect to guard the 5 regions, so we naturally can't sit idly by and do nothing about what happened today. The 6 combination celestial supremacy's eyes were solemn. He was slightly interested in the mysterious Shikong that survived 7 arrows. If I go to the Gaochen barbaric region, I should be able to see the mysterious Shikong with my own eyes. The 2 immortal venerables rushed to the North Star barbaric domain at the same time. 20 breaths later, they arrived at the wasteland of bones where Ning Fan was fighting against the 7 arrows. They spread out their spirit sense and it almost covered the entire North Star barbaric domain. Unfortunately, the 2 of them were still a step too late when they arrived at this place. Ning Fan was nowhere to be found. During these 20 breaths of time, Ning Fan had already returned to the Milan city with his golden light and brought Lu Yen and the immortal Loli away from the North Star barbaric domain. Dozens of breaths later, Du Longzi, whose face was filled with killing intent, also rushed to the skeleton wasteland. When he saw that there were only 2 immortal venerables of the human race waiting for him and Ning Fan was nowhere to be seen, Du Longzi's expression immediately turned extremely ugly. Along the way, Du Longzi constantly used the reverse spirit technique in an attempt to sense the qi of the ancestral bow and locate Ning Fan's location. However, he realized that he could not do it at all. The ancestral bow was actually sealed by a layer of demonic spiritual energy, blocking his inverse spirit art perception. Damn it! I rushed to the southern territory for the 2nd time to capture this child, but I still couldn't catch him. He ran away again, he ran away again. No. This child cannot be allowed to live. The ancestral bow and arrow spirit must be retrieved as well. Even if I have to risk my demon soul being heavily injured, this old man will still find this kid in the wilderness today. Ignoring the two human immortal venerables not far away, Patriarch Poison Dragon formed a hand seal in anger, and a demonic shadow flew out of his body. The demonic shadow swayed, from 1 to 2, 2 to 4. In an instant, it had split into hundreds of demonic shadows. Every demon shadow was at the early stage of Szechuan Kong. Soul-shattering art. Du Longzi even used this technique. He actually did not hesitate to injure his demon soul to kill that Wuming Szechuan Kong. The two human immortal venerables immediately revealed a look of shock. They really wanted to know what Ning Fan had done to make old ancestor Poison Dragon want to kill him even at the cost of damaging his own Dao realm. As soon as the hundreds of demonic shadows appeared, they immediately flew in different directions. Unfortunately, before they could fly far, heaven and earth suddenly froze and formed a barrier, preventing all the demonic shadows from flying out. Hee hee. Are you trying to find the cultivator's whereabouts with these demonic shadows? I won't allow you to harm him. It was Venerable Miao Yen who raised his hand and sealed the heaven and earth of this place. Venerable Six Unity took out a black jade seal. That jade seal was his Dao weapon. The jade seal grew in the wind and turned into a gigantic seal that blotted out the sky. Suddenly, it fell towards the wilderness, causing the ground to sink 10 zhang. Old ancestor Poison Dragon's face was filled with shock and anger. His figure flashed and he evaded the attack of the jade seal. However, the hundreds of demonic shadows that he created were all smashed into meat paste by the jade seal. Miao Yen, Six Unity. I must kill that person today. If the two of you stop me, I will make you pay the price even if I have to risk everything. Old ancestor Poison Dragon let out a furious roar filled with reluctance. If it wasn't for Miao Yen and Six Unity's obstruction, he would certainly be able to find Ning Fan's whereabouts and kill him. Unfortunately, the two of them insisted on stopping him. Could it be that they wanted him to give up on chasing after him? Could they allow Ning Fan to take away the ancestral bow and the arrow spirit? No. He was unwilling to give up. Hee hee. I really want to see what kind of price you can make us pay. Venerable Miao Yen giggled and flew forward to fight against old ancestor Poison Dragon. The Six Unity Immortal Venerable's expression was slightly hesitant. However, seeing that Miao Yen had already made her move, he also joined the battle. There was no suspense in this battle. Old ancestor Poison Dragon was naturally not a match for two immortal venerables. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to fight against two immortal venerables at the same time. Moreover, the current him was not at his peak. First, he was devoured by the arrow spirit. Then, he was injured by Ning Fan's roar. After that, he damaged his own demon soul and used the soul-shattering technique, but it did not work. The battle lasted for half a day. Only then did it come to an end. The two venerables, Miao Yen and Six Unity, suffered some minor injuries. As for old ancestor Poison Dragon, he was severely injured. With no other choice, he temporarily fled back to the Northern Territory. I'm not willing to accept this. That ghost-faced brat. How hateful. How hateful. Give the order. Quickly give the order. I want to place a bounty on this ghost-faced brat in the name of the true Dragon Clan. Anyone who kills him will be rewarded with a semi-finished embryonic emperor pill. Be it the demon cultivators of the desolate lands or the inner world, as long as they can kill this brat, they will all be rewarded. Old ancestor Poison Dragon's order spread across the entire desolate lands and even to the demon spirit land. Anyone who heard the order could see that old ancestor Poison Dragon was truly enraged. The true Dragon Clan was truly enraged. The 9 revolution pills were divided into 4 grades: lead, silver, gold and emperor. Lead pills and silver pills were not rare pills. Gold pills, however, were extremely precious. As for emperor pills, they were almost peerless treasures that were rarely seen in the world. Even a semi-finished emperor pill was enough to drive countless ancient old monsters crazy. This time, Old Ancestor Poison Dragon represented the true dragon clan and secretly placed a bounty on Ning Fan's head with an embryonic emperor pill as the reward. His action directly made some experts of the demon race in the demon spirit land secretly come to the desolate lands. They wanted to find Ning Fan and kill him in exchange for the generous reward of the emperor pill. Old Ancestor Poison Dragon had issued a ban on the matter of the ancestral bow being snatched. Other than the true dragon clan, only a few people knew about it. With Miao Yen and 6 Unity's abilities, they naturally had their own channels to find out the ins and outs of the matter. When they found out that Ning Fan was not only not killed by the 7 Arrows book but also destroyed the 7 arrows and snatched the ancestral bow of the true dragon clan, the 2 venerables were shocked speechless. Hee. No wonder Poison Dragon was so furious. It's fine that the 7 Arrows book was destroyed, but even the Candle Bow spirit. Hee. What an interesting little fellow. I really want to meet him. Unfortunately, even with my abilities, I can't find out his current whereabouts. Venerables Miao Yen smiled with a hint of regret. The Candle Bow's spirit, huh? To the true dragon clan, this bow holds a great significance. This bow has a spirit. Even ordinary venerables can't restrain this bow and snatch it. That Junior actually snatched this bow. 6 Unity immortal venerables wore a solemn expression. Even with his conceited personality, he could not help but admire the means of that mysterious Junior. However, I heard that Junior released the demon aura of the Fu Li clan that day and suppressed countless demon cultivators in the northern region. Moreover, that aura was the aura of the ancestral blood. I wonder if it's true or not. No, this news should be fake. Occasionally, some devil cultivators would be bestowed with an immortal position by chance. However, it's impossible for a demon cultivator to obtain the recognition of an immortal position at the end of the world. This Junior's immortal position can't be faked. Since he has an immortal position, he's a human cultivator no matter what. He can't be a demon cultivator. The ancestral blood and demon aura that he released should be unleashed by borrowing the power of an external object. He can't be a demon cultivator himself. Demon cultivators kept sneaking into the 5 regions of the god race and searching the entire desolate lands, trying to find the whereabouts of that ghost-faced cultivator and kill him. However, none of the demons could find the whereabouts of that ghost-profound realm cultivator and kill him for the reward. It was obvious that Ning Fan was still in the desolate lands before the realm gate would appear in 10 years. However, no one could find his hiding place. Ning Fan was still in the desolate lands. After that battle, he kept the ghost-faced cultivator and brought Lu Yen and immortal Loli to the unconquered barbarian regions. He did not stay in the 5 regions of the god race. He no longer had the appearance of a silver-haired ghost-faced cultivator. Instead, he roamed the unconquered barbarian regions with the identity of a barbarian. After all, he was not a match for Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Even if he ignited his ancestral blood, he could only cause insignificant injuries to Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Sacrificing a drop of ancestral blood to block the arrow light of the ancestral bow was a huge price to pay. However, Ning Fan did not regret it. The reason why he cultivated the Tao was to protect the warmth behind his back. If he could not protect it, what was the use of having ancestral blood? Even though he had sacrificed a drop of ancestral blood, his gains were also quite substantial. In this battle, Ning Fan had obtained the bow spirit of the ancestral bow and 7 7-colored arrow spirits. In the unconquered barbarian region, there was a barbarian city called Bianliang in the 8th region. On the official road 20 li away from Bianliang City, more than 10 carriages were cautiously moving towards the city. The people who were riding on these carriages were barbarians without any cultivation base. They had just fled from another barbarian city to Bianliang City with their entire families. One of the carriages was decorated lavishly with gold and silver carvings. The owner of the carriages was sitting on it while the other carriages were occupied by servants and guards. The owner of the carriages was called Zhao Boyang. He was nearly 30 years old and was a great scholar in Xiufu City. 3 days ago, the barbarian statue of Xiufu City was destroyed and the entire city was massacred by the wild beasts. Only a few people managed to escape alive. The Zhao family was considered lucky as they managed to escape. At this moment, Zhao Boyang sighed continuously while comforting a young woman who had a sorrowful expression. She was his wife. In her arms was a sleeping baby who was smiling sweetly. He was already half a year old. "My condolences, my wife." Zhao Boyang held his wife's hand and let out a long sigh without saying a word. As a barbarian, one must be prepared to die at any time. After comforting the beautiful woman, Zhao Boyang walked out of the carriage. He lowered his voice and asked the guard who was driving the carriage. "Zhao San, how far are we from Bianliang City?" "Master, we are on the official road. We will arrive in about 20 li," the burly man named Zhao San answered in a low voice. He did not dare to raise his voice. No one dared to speak loudly outside the barbarian city. Once they attracted the attacks of the wild beasts, the consequences would be unimaginable. 20 li. Another 20 li and we will be safe. Another 20 li. Sigh, if we have the barbarian god Jade Pendant, we don't need to be so cautious. Zhao Boyang's heart was filled with anxiety. To be exact, all the people on the carriage were nervous. Xiufu City was destroyed and they were the only survivors. If they could reach Bianliang City, they would be considered to have survived. If they were attacked by the wild beasts before entering the city, surviving would be an extravagant hope. "Don't worry, master. I have traveled back and forth between Xiufu and Bianliang City several times. Based on my experience, we will be safe once we reach the official road. There won't be any more attacks from the wild beasts." Just as Zhao San finished his confident words, a beast's roar suddenly came from the forest beside the official road. The beast's roar was hoarse like the cry of a resentful infant. When it entered everyone's ears, their faces immediately turned pale. "Barbarian! Wild beast! We are doomed! We are doomed!" Startled by the beast's roar, the horses of the carriages trembled and stopped running. They crouched on the ground and shivered. In the next moment, a strange beast that was 1,000 feet long suddenly flew out from the forest. It was completely black and had a pair of wings. Its eyes were staring at the carriages and saliva flowed out of its mouth, emitting a rancid smell. Dong! 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 The wild beast crawled towards the carriages step by step. Its heavy footsteps caused the earth and rocks on the official road to collapse. The road to Bianliang City was blocked by the wild beast. The horses that were pulling the carriages were unable to move forward due to fear. One by one, the panicked servants and guards jumped off the carriage and fled in all directions, abandoning their masters. Only a dozen guards were unwilling to abandon their masters even though they were fearful of the wild beast. Even though Zhao Boyang was a great scholar, he couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression at this moment. His wife was just an ordinary woman. At this moment, her face had already turned pale from fright. The baby was also awakened by the beast's roar and started crying. "Zhao 5th. Zhao 7th. The two of you are responsible for protecting master, madam and young miss. Leave now. The rest of you, follow me to block the wild beast." Zhao San bellowed. He drew his saber and leaped off the carriage. Leading a group of people, he charged towards the wild beast in an attempt to buy time for his master's family to escape. Under the support of 2 guards, Zhao Boyang and his family got off the carriage. Just as they were about to escape, their expressions suddenly changed. On the official road behind them, there were also several wild beasts scuttling out. Most of the servants who abandoned their masters to escape had already died in the mouths of the wild beasts. Their limbs were scattered all over the ground. As for Zhao San and the other guards who were fighting with the wild beast, 3 of them were eaten by the wild beast in just a single move. My life is over. Zhao Boyang sighed with his eyes closed. His expression was bitter. As a great scholar, he understood the relationship between the heavens and earth and was indifferent to life and death. However, his wife and daughter were here as well. He couldn't bear to watch his wife and daughter die in the mouths of the wild beasts. Zhao San and the other guards' faces were pale as well. With a pincer attack from both the front and the back, it was impossible for mortals like them to escape death. This old man's life is going to end here today. Just when everyone was in despair, an indifferent voice of a young man suddenly sounded. Stand down. It was a very calm tone without any arrogance, but in the ears of the wild beasts, it sounded like an order that couldn't be disobeyed. The wild beasts who were busy eating the humans suddenly revealed a look of terror. They looked at the person who spoke and trembled. On the official road far away, a white-robed young man with an otherworldly temperament was walking slowly. Beside him was a delicate woman and a silver-haired little girl with red lips and white teeth. The person who spoke was the white-robed young man. As the white-robed young man walked step by step, the wild beasts in the area felt a pressure as heavy as a mountain. They wailed a few times and started to flee. The white-robed young man looked at the escaping wild beasts and didn't attack them. He muttered to himself. A harmonious spirit wild beast. With my current blood tribulation aura, I only need to intimidate them to scare them away. This white-robed young man was naturally Ning Fan. With the powerful demon spirit force, Ning Fan was able to shield himself from all senses and walked in the ancient savage domain like a mortal. His goal was to follow the official road to the nearby barbarian city and cultivate there. He didn't fly because he wanted to comprehend the way mortals traveled. The wild beasts are gone. They didn't eat us. What happened? Where did this man come from? He could scare the wild beasts away with just a word. Only 11 people managed to keep their lives. They were Zhao Boyang's family of 3 and 8 loyal bodyguards. The rest were all dead. Everyone was glad that they survived the disaster, but they were more puzzled. Wild beasts were ferocious and fearless. They had low intelligence, but why would they listen to the white-robed young man's order? This was something they couldn't understand. Zhao Boyang was knowledgeable. He had read a lot of books, so he knew a lot. Legend has it that there was a great scholar in ancient times who cultivated righteousness and could scare off evil beasts with just a word. Could this white-robed young man be one of those peerless scholars? I'm Zhao Boyang from Tsiufu. Thank you for saving my life. May I know your name? Ning Fan. Is young Master Ning heading to Bianliang? Yes. I don't know how to repay young Master for saving my life. I sincerely hope that young Master can travel with us. We can use a carriage to express our gratitude. Zhao Boyang made this request. Firstly, he wanted to thank Ning Fan for saving his life. Considering that Ning Fan's journey was tough, he wanted to send him off with a carriage. Secondly, he wanted to borrow Ning Fan's righteousness to deter the wild beasts and ensure their safety. Ning Fan naturally knew what Zhao Boyang was thinking, but he didn't point it out. He smiled and nodded. Zhao Boyang invited him into the most luxurious carriage. Almost all the servants in the caravan were dead or injured. The guards of the Zhao family packed up their luggage, leaving only 4 carriages behind, and continued their journey to Bianliang. The 8 guards knew that it was Ning Fan who scared the wild beasts away. Although they didn't know why, they were very grateful and respectful towards Ning Fan. Immortal Loli had eaten too many lightning fragments. She was sleeping soundly in the carriage while leaning on Lu Yan. Lu Yan's beautiful eyes were fixed on Ning Fan. Her eyes were sparkling from time to time. This was her first time seeing Ning Fan's face and hearing his name. So senior is the famous rain immortal monarch of the eastern heaven. Ning Fan sat in the carriage and occasionally chatted with Zhao Boyang. Most of the time, he hid his hands in his sleeves and secretly condensed fire elemental crystals. The guards who fought against the wild beasts risked their lives and erupted with extremely strong battle intent. Ning Fan collected that battle intent and condensed it bit by bit into a high-grade fire elemental crystal. The power of the battle intent it contained was tens of times stronger than a supreme-grade battle crystal. If Ning Fan hadn't mastered the third transformation of his battle arts, he wouldn't be able to condense the battle intent of mortals into crystals. As the number of his natal battle flames increased, the current him was able to achieve this. Interesting. In the past few days, I've visited all the places with strong battle intent in the desolate wilderness, but none of them could condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal. The battle intent in this place isn't strong, but the battle intent of mortals who fought to the death is much stronger than some ancient battlefields. It actually helped me condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal. If I use this method to gather the battle intent of mortals and condense them into high-grade fire elemental crystals, I believe the speed of mastering the fourth transformation will be very fast. The battle intent he gathered from the guards had already been used up. After that, he wouldn't be able to condense a high-grade fire elemental crystal with the sparse battle intent in this place. With a thought, Ning Fan kept the high-grade fire elemental crystal into his storage pouch. He could not help but look forward to his trip to Bianliang City. Bianliang was one of the few prosperous barbarian cities in the 8th district. Even though this city was protected by the barbaric statue, it was often attacked by wild beasts. People often died in the mouths of wild beasts. Mortals were afraid of wild beasts and that fear went deep into their bones. The more fearful they were, the stronger their battle intent would be when they fought the wild beasts to the death. If he gathered the battle intent of those mortals who were fearless of death and condensed them into high-grade fire elemental crystals, he would be able to master the fourth transformation of his battle arts even faster. The fourth transformation isn't far away. Perhaps, I can also transform into a mortal in this barbarian city. Ning Fan pondered. Suddenly, a cry interrupted Ning Fan's thoughts. It was Zhao Boyang's half-year-old daughter who was crying. The reason for her crying was because the barbaric poison was acting up. There was a bruise on one side of the child's face. That was the place where the barbaric poison was poisoned. I'm sorry to disturb you. When my daughter was born, there were wild beasts attacking Xiufu City. Although the wild beasts didn't invade the city, they left behind quite a lot of barbaric poison. My daughter unfortunately inhaled some of it. Every day, my daughter would be corroded by the barbaric poison for a few hours. That's why she would cry. Zhao Boyang heaved a long sigh. His eyes were filled with sorrow and helplessness when he looked at his daughter. Even if an adult was poisoned by the barbaric poison, only a few of them could endure the pain of it. His daughter had to bear the pain brought by the barbaric poison the moment she was born. As a father, he was powerless. There were only a few people who knew how to treat the barbaric poison. At this moment, he was neither a great scholar or the old master of the Zhao clan. He was just a powerless father. Madame Zhao's tears flowed down her cheeks when she saw her daughter suffering. She wished that she could take her daughter's place to suffer. Ning Fan's gaze gradually became distant. Amidst his panic, he thought of his parents, especially his mother who had sacrificed her demon blood for him. Let me hug her. Ning Fan smiled faintly. Under the puzzled gaze of Zhao Boyang and his wife, he took the little girl and held her in his arms. The power of the calamity blood in his body moved and the barbaric poison in the little girl's body was immediately eliminated. Once the pain was gone, the little girl naturally stopped crying. She couldn't speak yet. She just curled up in Ning Fan's arms, sucking on her fingers and staring at Ning Fan with her black eyes without blinking. The bruises on her chubby face were no longer there. Hiss. The barbaric poison is gone. This. Zhao Boyang sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at his daughter's face in disbelief. Unbelievable. Ning Fan just hugged the little girl and the barbaric poison in her body was gone. Could this be the righteous qi that was recorded in the ancient records? The barbaric poison and evil spirits were all gone. Young Master Ning, I'm very grateful for your help. Zhao Boyang cupped his fists and said solemnly. It's just a small matter. I just hope that old Master Zhao won't tell everyone about my ability when we reach Bianliang. Ning Fan said with a smile. I won't. I'll definitely keep my mouth shut about this. This little girl is very cute. What's her name? Zhao Dai, her. This name was given by my wife. Zhao Boyang's expression was slightly awkward. He was a dignified Confucian scholar, yet his daughter's name was given so casually. He was afraid that Ning Fan, who was also a Confucian scholar, would tease him and look down on him. Oh. Zhao Dai, This name seems to be fated with me. Ning Fan smiled faintly and returned the little girl to Madame Zhao's arms. He no longer paid attention to her. The journey of 20 li was completed in 2 hours. Ning Fan brought the two ladies down from the carriage. After bidding farewell to Zhao Boyang, they entered Bianliang city alone. When the guards of the city saw Ning Fan and his group coming from the official road outside the city, they were stunned. Ning Fan and his group did not wear the barbarian god jade pendant on their necks. They just casually walked into the city from outside. Are they people who are fleeing from the disaster? They didn't manage to get the barbarian god jade pendant in time. Without the barbarian god jade pendant, they actually didn't get eaten by the wild beasts outside the city. They are really lucky. Some of the guards discussed softly. Bianliang city was extremely prosperous. After entering the city, both sides of the long street were filled with shops and restaurants. Along the way, they arrived at the Bian River. Both sides of the river were filled with plum trees. There were many empty mansions for sale. Zhao Boyang gave him some money and Ning Fan did not reject it. Ning Fan bought a mansion as his temporary residence. Lu Yen stayed at home to nourish the star plate while the immortal Loli was sleeping soundly in her room. Ning Fan walked out of the courtyard and walked to the side of the Bian River. He looked at the plum trees on both sides of the river and smiled faintly. It was still summer in Bianliang city. Naturally, there were no plum blossoms on the plum trees. There was only a single green leaf. However, if winter comes, there would be countless plum blossoms blooming on both sides of the river. Cultivating the war god art and mortal transcending truth will take up a lot of time. I think I will still be staying in this city for a long time. These plum blossoms are very good. It reminds me of 7 Apricot City and gives me a sense of home. Ning Fan looked at the plum trees on both sides of the river with a smile that reached the bottom of his eyes. Inadvertently, a trace of true illusion force flashed across Ning Fan's body. On the Bian River, a gaily painted boat passed by. A white-haired old man was standing at the bow of the boat. He was holding a gourd in his hand and drinking wine in big gulps. When he saw Ning Fan looking at the plum blossoms and smiling, the old man was stunned at first and then burst into laughter. Awesome! Awesome! Smiling before seeing the plum blossoms, the Tao is already in your heart. You are the same as me. Both of you are people who really know how to appreciate plum blossoms. In the eyes of ordinary people, the most beautiful part of plum blossoms is when it blossoms, lofty and unyielding. However, they have forgotten that without the accumulation of energy in spring, summer and autumn, how can the plum blossoms have the power to bloom in a single season? The accumulation of energy in 3 seasons is only for the bloom in a single season. This is the destiny of us cultivators. Accumulating energy is the key to blossom. Upon hearing this, Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned cold and looked at the old man on the gaily painted boat. If he was not mistaken, that old man was actually a peak-shedding void realm cultivator. I come from the northern heaven. My Tao title is Kei Shensi. May I know your name? Are you willing to come to this gaily painted boat and discuss the Tao with me? With Kei Shenxi's eyesight, he could naturally tell that Ning Fan was a cultivator. Judging from the trace of illusory true force that Ning Fan had inadvertently released, Ning Fan should still be on the path of comprehending the truth. Thinking of this, Kei Shenxi didn't mind telling Ning Fan his Tao title to form a good relationship with him and give him some pointers. Ning Fan's eyes changed again. Kei Shenxi, this name sounds familiar. That's right, he's the old ancestor of Sinister Sparrow sect of Yu country. He's the almighty cultivator who left behind the comprehension of rain in the dark sparrow's grave. He had never thought that he would meet Kei Shenxi in such a place. However, it seemed like Kei Shenxi didn't know his identity. Ning Fan thought for a while and understood the reason. Although his identity was widely known in the eastern heaven, it might not necessarily be known in the northern heaven. It wasn't strange that Kei Shenxi didn't know him. If it wasn't for the comprehension of rain left by Kei Shenxi in the dark sparrow's grave, Ning Fan might not be who he was today. Towards Kei Shenxi, Ning Fan felt 30% gratitude, 20% curiosity, and 50% vigilance. In any case, it was necessary to be vigilant when encountering a strange cultivator who was also a powerful old monster. Junior Ning Fan greets Senior Kei Shenxi. I'm willing to go on a boat and discuss the Tao with Senior. Ning Fan's figure flashed and directly appeared on the gaily painted boat. The few men who were rowing the boat rubbed their eyes in disbelief. After a while, they exclaimed. Hiss! This junior has such a powerful movement technique. That's right. In the eyes of mortals, the movement technique that Ning Fan used to fly on the gaily painted boat was a movement technique. Ning Fan? That's a good name. Everything is Tao and Ning is obsession. There's a deep seed of obsession in Little Friend's Tao sense. I think Little Friend's Tao is the Tao of obsession. Am I mistaken? Kei Shenxi said with a faint smile. His eyes flashed with green light. He wasn't an ancient immortal venerable. His cultivation base might not be high in the northern heaven, but the green light in his eyes was clearly the green light of the unity of heaven and man. He could see through the essence of Ning Fan's Tao with just a glance. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged, but his heart was secretly shocked. He nodded and didn't say anything, acknowledging Kei Shenxi's words. The Tao of obsession. This is my first time seeing a cultivator who cultivates this Tao. I'm afraid that it will be a mental torture. If Little Friend can't get rid of the obsession in your heart, you won't be able to cross the true bridge even if you spend your entire life. If you get rid of the obsession, your Tao will collapse and your heart will be destroyed. Then, you won't be able to cross the true bridge in the end. The difficulty of Little Friend crossing the true bridge isn't small. As for void abandonment and thought fragmentation realm, AI. Kei Shenxi sighed. This old man will give Little Friend a piece of advice. Don't cross the true bridge in your life. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Remember. Chapter 867. This life is unredeemable. What if I insist on it? Ning Fan's eyes were calm and unwavering. He was very grateful for Kei Shenxi's advice, but Kei Shenxi's words couldn't affect his Tao heart. Kei Shenxi was startled for a moment, then burst into laughter and tossed the gourd to Ning Fan. You're indeed a Tao persistence cultivator. Since you insist on truth crossing, I naturally won't stop you. Meeting each other is fate. This wine is brewed from the Tao-seeking fruit. I'll give it to you. Ning Fan received the gourd and scanned the spiritual wine with his spirit sense. His expression changed immediately. The Tao-seeking fruit was a spiritual fruit that could increase one's probability of truth crossing. It was said that it only grew in the savage ancient domain. The value of a Tao-seeking fruit was not lower than the truth-crossing Tao fruit. This wine contained at least the energy of dozens of Tao-seeking fruits. Thank you for the wine, Senior. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Please accept this. Ning Fan kept the wine gourd and took out a Dao fruit, giving it to Kei Shensi. Kei Shensi's eyes were calm at first, but his expression changed when he saw the Dao fruit. It's the void-shedding Dao fruit. Kei Shensi had never expected that a true Fate Immortal would have a void-shedding Dao fruit. After giving Ning Fan a deep look, Kei Shensi realized that he had underestimated Ning Fan from the beginning. The value of a void-shedding Dao fruit was much higher than those spiritual wines. Ning Fan returned the Dao fruit because he didn't want to accept someone's kindness for free. This was Ning Fan's insistence. This kid has a good temperament. The fact that he dared to give the Dao fruit to me without being afraid of my void-shedding Dao fruit showed that he had full confidence in himself and his cultivation base was at the peak of void-shedding Dao fruit. It seems like this kid has hidden his strength well. When the boatmen saw Ning Fan take out a strange fruit like a magic trick, they were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. They had no idea where Ning Fan got this fruit from. Senior doesn't seem to be far from the thought fragmentation realm. I hope this Dao fruit can provide some help for Senior's breakthrough. Ning Fan smiled meaningfully. Kei Shensi's heart was slightly shaken. He looked at Ning Fan in disbelief, as if he was looking at a monster. He didn't tell anyone that he was about to break through the thought fragmentation realm. Even the old monster breaking Dao old monster couldn't see through his cultivation base. However, Ning Fan did. The power of the unity of heaven and man in his body suddenly trembled a little, as if it had sensed something from Ning Fan. Kei Shensi immediately opened his mouth wide. He finally understood why Ning Fan's eyesight was so sharp. I see. It turns out that my little friend is also. I'm ashamed. The younger generation will surpass us in time, truly surpass us in time. After Kei Shensi sighed, his expression suddenly turned solemn as he asked, "Are you a member of the secret race?" From Kei Shensi's point of view, only the 10 great secret clans had a small possibility of cultivating a Gue Xian who had attained the unity of heaven and man. No. That's good. There's a great opportunity in the hands of the barbarian demon clan. Little friend, are you interested in joining me to seize this opportunity? Kei Shensi looked at Ning Fan with sincerity, as if he was looking at a peer. Opportunity? What kind of opportunity? Ning Fan's eyelids twitched slightly. A tree that hasn't blossomed yet, it will surely blossom in a few decades. After the flower blooms, it will turn into ashes. That flower is a great opportunity. Those who aren't cultivators who have attained the unity of heaven and man can't consume this flower, or they will die for sure. Cultivators who have already opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm will have a slight chance of opening the second gate if they consume this flower. Kei Shensi said with fiery eyes. Is that so? Ning Fan's heart was slightly shocked, but he didn't show any of it on his face. It was Ning Fan's first time hearing about a flower that could increase the chance of opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm. If it was really as mysterious as what Kei Shensi said, it would be a great opportunity, but since the flower is in the hands of the barbarian demon clan, it will be very dangerous to seize it. I've only just met Kei Shensi, but he invited me to seize this opportunity. Naturally, he isn't interested in my cultivation base, but my unity of heaven and man. In other words, it's impossible for a cultivator who has attained the unity of heaven and man to seize the flower of this tree. I'm not familiar with Kei Shensi. It's possible that he has malicious intentions towards me. This opportunity can increase the chance of opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, but it's just a slight chance, it's not necessary. Therefore, the most important thing now is to cultivate the war god art. If there's time, I can transform into a mortal and enter the true realm. It's not impossible to seize that flower. Ning Fan's thoughts raced. After a moment, he made up his mind and clasped his fists at Kei Shensi apologetically. Junior still needs to comprehend the true realm. I'm afraid I won't have the time to seize this opportunity. After hearing that Ning Fan had rejected his good intention, Kei Shensi was startled at first, then shook his head with a bitter smile. Forget it. This old man will leave Bianliang City today to make some preparations for obtaining the flower. When the flower blooms, this old man will return to this city. If little friend changes your mind at that time, you can follow this old man to obtain the flower. If this old man is alone, I'm afraid the chance of obtaining the flower will be very low. I hope little friend can change your mind, AI. Kei Shensi let out a sigh and no longer mentioned this matter. He took out some spiritual wine and drank with Ning Fan on the gaily painted boat. Their friendship was shallow, so they naturally couldn't have a deep conversation, but it was still possible to discuss the Tao with each other while drinking. Both of them were cultivators who had opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm. Their knowledge and experience were naturally incomparable to ordinary cultivators. As the sky darkened, Kei Shensi finally had the intention to leave. He bid farewell to Ning Fan and left Bianliang City. Ning Fan returned to his home and sat cross-legged for a long time before his Tao heart completely calmed down. It wasn't that Ning Fan wasn't tempted by the opportunity that Kei Shensi mentioned, but he didn't care too much about it. After putting everything behind him, Ning Fan began to cultivate the war god art wholeheartedly. There was a private school that was just a wall away from Ning Fan's house. In the evening, there were naturally many children who had left school, making the street bustling with activity. There were also peddlers shouting their wares as they walked past the courtyard wall of Ning Fan's house. There were also all kinds of noises from the market. Not only did it not disturb his cultivation, it made his heart even more peaceful. Suddenly, Ning Fan understood why some powerful cultivators like to choose the noisy marketplace to comprehend the Tao. Small seclusion in the wilderness, big seclusion in the city. The noise of the market could calm one's Tao heart better. The chirping of cicadas in the forest was quieter than the chirping of birds in the mountain. Ning Fan's Tao heart was like a forest and a mountain, reaching an unprecedented level of concentration. His body, mouth and intent were perfectly united. At this moment, Ning Fan felt that he was getting closer to the myriad of Tao in the heavens. The feeling of being in harmony with heaven and earth had also deepened. Suddenly, Ning Fan's eyes had a hint of enlightenment. Perhaps, if he could transform into a mortal for thousands of years, he could still find the opportunity to open the second gate of the celestial being realm even if there wasn't any opportunity. This was Ning Fan's first day in Bianliang City. On the second day, the private school next door suddenly became lively. Countless people of Bianliang City flocked to this place to watch the bustling scene. The reason was simple. A new teacher had come to the private school today. He was a great scholar in Xiufu City, Zhao Boyang. Although Bianliang City was prosperous, there weren't any great scholars in the city. When Zhao Boyang came to teach in this private school, many of the wealthy clans in Bianliang City rushed to send their disciples to this private school. How could a small private school accommodate so many students? A few wealthy clans discussed and decided to expand the private school into an academy. Once the academy was opened, Zhao Boyang wouldn't be the only teacher. They could invite some famous scholars to teach them. With the financial resources of these wealthy clans, it only took them a month to build an academy that was only a wall away from the Ning family. The name of the academy was Academy in the Clouds. It was meant to encourage the students to have lofty ambitions. Although the academy was built, the teachers hadn't been found yet. Therefore, the school hadn't started yet. It had been a month since Ning Fan arrived in Bianliang City. Occasionally, he would bring Lu Yen and immortal Loli to the Bian River for an outing. Most of the time, he would stay at home in seclusion to condense his crystal. Lu Yan's appearance was considered top-notch in the cultivation world. Naturally, she was peerless in the mortal world. In just a month, the news had spread in Bianliang City that Ning Ning had given birth to a beautiful wife whose beauty outshone the moon and flowers. There was also a rumor that the silver-haired little Loli was Ning Ning's daughter. She had an extraordinary appearance since she was young. When she grew up, she would definitely be a peerless beauty. Countless playboys came looking for fish. Unfortunately, they were all beaten up by Immortal Loli and fled in a hurry. Immortal Loli was bored, extremely bored. Even though she had thunder fragments to eat and a good night's sleep, she still felt bored. Beating people up became Immortal Loli's pastime. Every time she saw a playboy showing an evil smile at Lu Yen, she would rush forward and beat him up violently. Every time she saw a lecherous old man looking at her with a perverted and wretched smile, she would rush forward and beat him up violently. The playboy gathered dozens of guards and wanted to get back at her. Don't be afraid, beat him up. The son of the city lord of Bianliang City was beaten up and 300 soldiers came to encircle her. Don't be afraid, beat him up. Immortal Loli's violent reputation quickly spread across the entire Bianliang City. No one dared to provoke her. Everyone in the city knew that Ning Sheng had a daughter named Ning Xianxian who was 7 years old. She had been taught a divine technique by an expert. 300 soldiers were no match for Ning Xianxian alone. Ning Fan was powerless to stop Immortal Loli's high-profile and violent behavior. He could only let her do as she pleased. His only request was to stop her from using her abilities to kill people in Bianliang City. Compared to the violent Immortal Loli, Lu Yen was much more gentle and quiet. During the day, she really seemed to have become Ning Fan's wife. She washed and cooked like a mortal woman. At night, she would wholeheartedly nurture the weapon spirit. She realized that nurturing the weapon spirit in the mortal world was much faster than when she was in seclusion. As for turning into a mortal with Ning Fan, she did not seem to reject it. Instead, she somewhat enjoyed this peaceful life. However, this was a barbarian city. It was a world where savage beasts rampaged. The people were struggling to survive under the slaughter of the savage beasts. Within a month, the savage beasts had actually attacked the city 7 times. Every time there were soldiers fighting the savage beasts with their mortal bodies, Ning Fan would seize the opportunity to collect condensed battle intent crystals. On the city walls of Bianliang City, there were many ancient barbarian statues that looked like humans and beasts. They had abilities that could deter the savage beasts. Every time the savage beasts attacked the city, the barbarian statues would display their power by releasing black and red light to counterattack the savage beasts. With the number of barbarian statues in Bianliang City, even if the savage beasts of the second step besieged the city, it was difficult to guarantee that they would not die. However, before Ning Fan came to Bianliang City, every time the savage beasts attacked the city, there would be a certain number of casualties. Sometimes, only one person would die. Sometimes, a few people would die. Sometimes, a part of the city wall would collapse and more than 10 people would die. However, after Ning Fan arrived, he would occasionally help the barbarian soldiers. Very few barbarian soldiers would die in the mouths of the savage beasts. Naturally, Ning Fan was disdainful to save some barbarians who were afraid of the savage beasts. The reason why he helped them was not because he felt pity for them. Within a month, Ning Fan had condensed a total of 7 pieces of high-grade fierce elemental crystals. After devouring them, the number of flames of war had increased to 1,300. An increase of 100 flames of war in a month. This kind of cultivation speed was extremely shocking. While walking in Bianliang City, Ning Fan looked at the barbarian statues that could be seen everywhere and fell into deep thought. Every barbarian city had a barbarian god temple. The barbarian monks in the temples knew how to craft the barbarian god jade pendant and the barbarian statues to protect the barbarians. Barbarian monks had a high status among the barbarians. However, their numbers were extremely few. For the first time in a month, Ning Fan came to the barbarian temple in Bianliang City. He saw countless barbarians who were worshipping him devoutly and a barbarian monk who was as thin as a match. That barbarian monk did not have any cultivation base. He was also a mortal. However, he could use the power of faith from the people to craft the barbarian god jade pendant and the barbarian statue. That barbarian monk was the only monk in the barbarian temple. His Dharma name was Man Chi. When Ning Fan arrived, he was holding a carving knife in the main hall of the temple. His eyes were filled with lifeless chi while he was carving a barbarian statue. It was just a piece of rotten wood. However, under his carving, it gradually gained some spirituality. As expected, the reason why the barbarian statues in the city can unleash their power is because of the power of the incense. Ning Fan muttered to himself. Man Chi turned his head in displeasure and glared at Ning Fan. He was the only barbarian monk in Bianliang City. His status was extremely high. Even the city lord of Bianliang City would have to show some respect to him. When he was carving the barbarian statue, he disliked being disturbed by others and no one had ever dared to disturb him. However, Ning Fan had barged into his main hall and disturbed him while he was carving the statue. This isn't a place where you should be. Back off. Man Chi's eyes turned sharp. He actually released a trace of aura force towards Ning Fan. That was the aura force he condensed from the incense of the barbarians. It was almost as strong as a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. If it was a mortal, they would naturally not be able to withstand his aura force. Unfortunately, his aura force could not affect Ning Fan at all. Incense force, huh? Ning Fan flicked his finger and Man Chi's aura force immediately collapsed. His gaze moved away from Man Chi and landed on a golden statue that was worshipped in the main hall. Man Chi stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not figure out why his aura force was ineffective against Ning Fan. Could it be that Ning Fan is also a barbarian monk and his usage of the power of faith is even more powerful than mine? Benefactor, could it be? Before Man Chi could finish his words, he was interrupted by Ning Fan. Silence. As soon as Ning Fan's voice fell, a wave of aura force as strong as heaven and earth fell on Man Chi's body. Man Chi could not utter a single word while being suppressed by that aura force. His expression when he looked at Ning Fan was filled with deep fear. Benefactor, you are indeed a barbarian monk. Moreover, you are a barbarian monk that is thousands of times stronger than me. Ning Fan did not pay attention to Man Chi. He quietly stared at the golden barbarian statue in the main hall. This golden statue was the ancestor of the barbarians. The statue of the barbarian ancestor was very similar to the inverse nascent soul. It had two heads and each of its hands was holding a bolt of lightning, as if it was going to send a tribulation punishment to people. Ning Fan could sense a trace of chi similar to the inverse nascent soul from the statue of the barbarian ancestor. It was very faint and was condensed from the power of incense. Barbarians, savage beasts and tribulation intent. What is the relationship between them? There are too many secrets in this world. With my current cultivation base, I am far from being qualified to see through them. Ning Fan walked out of the temple and walked along the Bian River back to his home. Outside his house, he unexpectedly met Zhao Boyang and his group who were leaving the academy. It was Zhao Boyang's first time coming to the academy after it was built. Zhao Boyang had never thought that Ning Fan would live in a place that was just a wall away from the academy. After being surprised for a while, he was overjoyed and invited Ning Fan to the academy to be a teacher. Currently, the academy was recruiting famous teachers. In Zhao Boyang's mind, Ning Fan was a great Confucian scholar of the current era. He was naturally qualified to teach in the academy. Zhao Boyang politely declined Zhao Boyang's invitation. Seeing that Ning Fan did not have the intention to teach and educate people, Zhao Boyang did not force him anymore and left with a sigh. However, from then on, Zhao Boyang would often come to the academy next door to look for Ning Fan to discuss Confucianism in his spare time. When the first gust of autumn wind blew into Bianliang City, it had already been 3 months since Ning Fan arrived in Bianliang City. Time passed by slowly. In the first winter, the winter plum blossoms on both sides of the Bian River did not bloom. In the second winter, the plum blossoms still did not bloom. In the third winter, it suddenly snowed heavily in Bianliang City. Both sides of the Bian River were covered with white snow and the plum blossoms were in full bloom. The number of natal war flames in Ning Fan's body had already reached 4,500. As for the yin-yang battle technique, it had already reached 74%. The further he progressed, the more difficult it became to cultivate. Fortunately, Ning Fan was not in a hurry. He understood that haste makes waste in cultivation. The immortal Loli's lightning physique evolved bit by bit, and the chill of the lightning power in her body became more and more obvious. She seemed to be afraid of the cold, and was unwilling to go out when it snowed. 3 years had passed, but the immortal Loli didn't grow at all. Many people secretly guessed that the immortal Loli had eaten the youth-halting immortal fruit outside the barbarian city by mistake, which allowed her to retain her youth. Lu Yen stayed at home and took care of the immortal Loli who was sleeping soundly. After being together for so many years, her relationship with this violent Loli had deepened. In addition to harmonizing the spirit with the astrolabe, she would also weave some cloth and embroider some patterns like a mortal woman in her spare time. She would then exchange them for money to pass the time. Since Ning Fan wanted to transform into a mortal, she would naturally do her best to create a mortal atmosphere for him. Amidst the wind and snow, the recitation of a barbarian child could be heard coming from the academy in the clouds. Barbarians are the ancestors of nature, the great sex of all realms. The barbarian is born in the dust and dies in the tribulation. Everything in the world cannot be clung to, clinging to it will lead to the loss of the barbarian. Ning Fan walked out of his house, leaving footprints on the snowy ground. However, they were soon covered by the wind and snow. Ning Fan's ears were echoing with the sound of the students reciting, but he remained silent. The children were reciting the barbarian ancestor scripture, an academic classic left behind by the ancestors of the barbarians. The barbarian ancestor scripture kept telling barbarians to be indifferent to life and death, to give up their obsession, to follow their destiny and not to resist. Ning Fan had heard the recitation too many times and he was already tired of it. Every sentence of the barbarian ancestor scripture went against his Tao. Everything in the world should not be stubborn, should not be stubborn. The ancestral vow was sealed by Ning Fan and temporarily kept in his storage pouch. As for the 7 colored arrow spirits, they were sealed inside his body. Each of the arrow spirits contained a terrifying amount of true illusion power. During these 3 years, Ning Fan had already refined half of the first arrow spirit. The true illusion power in his body skyrocketed and was absorbed by Ning Fan into his Tao heart. His cultivation base was getting closer and closer to the early crossing truth realm. Currently, he could already vaguely see the true bridge hidden in the mist of his Tao heart. However, he still couldn't see through it completely. Moreover, he gradually discovered that there was more than one true bridge hidden in the mist. There were many more. Crossing truth is still far away. Ning Fan held the wine gourd given to him by Kei Shensi and walked on the snow towards the Bian River. The red plum blossoms on the shore had already bloomed. Looking at the red plum blossoms in the snow, Ning Fan thought of Yu country and 7 Apricot City. Kei Shensi advised him to give up on Du Zhen, but he wouldn't. The barbarian ancestor scripture advised people to let go of their obsession and he wouldn't either. It was because he still had a home. His home was in 7 Apricot City, Yu country, and the Rain world. He still had his family. He still had things that he must protect. There were too many things that he had to do and he couldn't let go of his obsession. He needed strength to fulfill his promise to Sha Di. He needed strength to find the immortal emperor who had schemed against him and take revenge. He needed strength to stand beside Luo Yu one day. He also needed strength to create a great world where there was no conflict. He did not know how much strength he needed to achieve that. Looking at the red plum blossoms, Ning Fan lifted the gourd and drank a mouthful of spiritual wine, letting the medicinal power of the Tao-seeking fruit spread throughout his body. After an unknown period of time, a burst of laughter came from behind him. "Uncle, can you pluck a few plum blossoms for me? I want to weave a flower crown for the little snow cow. But I'm too short. I can't reach it." A 2 to 3 years old baby wearing a small red cotton jacket with her hair combed into a bun was holding the corner of Ning Fan's clothes pitifully. Her face was red from the cold. In order to show Ning Fan that she couldn't reach the plum blossoms, she tiptoed and hopped. Sure enough, she couldn't reach it. It was far from her reach. Oh. It's that little girl. Ning Fan recognized the little girl in front of him at first glance based on her chi. She was Zhao Boyang's daughter, Zhao Dai, her. She was already 3 years old. Originally, she followed her father to the academy to play. When the maidservants weren't paying attention, she sneaked out and made a snowman that looked like a dog or a cow on the snowy ground beside the river. Uncle, help me pluck some plum blossoms. I will marry you when I grow up. I promise you. If you don't believe me, let's pinky swear. Dai said confidently. Chapter 868. Marry me. Heh, do you know what it means to get married? Ning Fan was startled and laughed involuntarily. In his life, he had never been confessed to by a child who was less than 3 years old. He only found it interesting. I know, getting married is to be like Sister Sia, wearing a beautiful wedding coat, eating a lot of wedding cakes, sitting on a wedding boat and lighting up the wedding lanterns. Dai wants to get married even in her dreams. Zhao Dai answered with a childish voice, her face full of envy. How could she understand the meaning of getting married? To her, getting married meant having delicious food and fun. Sister Sia. Who's that? Ning Fan squatted down and stroked Dai's little head with a gentle expression. Sister Sia is the servant that mother appointed for me. She treats me very well, but it's strange that after she got married, she no longer takes care of me. Uncle, quick, help me pick the plum blossoms. The child pouted as if he didn't like being patted on the head as it wouldn't grow taller. All right, I'll help Dai. How many plum blossoms does Dai want? A lot, a lot. How many? I don't know. Anyway, I want a lot. Ning Fan laughed and shook his head. He only picked 2 plum blossoms and put one on the head of the little snow cow and the other on Dai's head. It's not enough, Dai wants more plum blossoms. Dai wants to weave a big flower crown. The child pouted and said. Some things, the more the better. The beauty of plum blossoms lies in its solitude and pride. Wearing only one is the most beautiful. It's not a flower that can be weaved into a crown. I don't understand. Uncle, I don't understand a single word you said. The child looked at Ning Fan in confusion, not understanding why he didn't pick more plum blossoms for her. However, she didn't mind. Anyway, the little snow cow already had a plum blossom on its head, and she also had one on her head. She was already very happy. She hopped around the little snow cow and hummed a folk song. Little barbaric cow, don't look back, fight for freedom with the heavens. Don't give up until you see the yellow river, but the river is not clear. The river is not clear, catch the barbarian fish. The barbarian fish can jump 3,000 li fight against the heavens, but get caught by the cat. This was a ballad passed down from mouth to mouth among the barbarians. The meaning of the ballad was that the bull fought against the heavens for freedom, but it was stopped at the Yellow River. The barbarian fish fought against the heavens, but it died in the mouth of the cat. The ballad was advising the barbarians that humans could not fight against the heavens. They had to obey the will of the heavens and could not go against it. This rumor is a little harsh. Ning Fan said with a slight frown. But seeing that the little boy was singing happily, he didn't interrupt him. The little boy made a small snow cow and asked Ning Fan to help him build a big snowman. After making one, he had to make another one. In the end, he made 5 snowmen for the little boy. 4 big ones and 1 small one. This is father, this is mother, this is Sister Sia, this is Dai, and this is uncle. Let's live happily together, be happy and carefree. The little boy made the decision on his own and confirmed the identities of the 5 snowmen. Ning Fan smiled and looked at the innocent expression of the little boy. His heart began to truly integrate into the life in Bianliang. 4 men panted heavily and hurriedly ran towards him. They were the guards of the Zhao mansion. The 4 guards were looking for Zhao Dai. Seeing that she was fine, they were relieved. 3 of them looked at Ning Fan with hostility in their eyes. They were the newly recruited guards of Zhao Boyang after he came to Bianliang. Among the 3 of them, the one with the sturdiest physique stepped in front of Ning Fan and said fiercely, "Who are you? How dare you abduct the eldest daughter of the Zhao clan here? What are your intentions?" The man's tone was very unfriendly. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light, but he didn't do anything to him. Ning Fan disdained to attack mortals, so he just stared at the man coldly. Just a cold stare without releasing any extra pressure was enough to make the sturdy man's expression change drastically. His whole body was drenched in cold sweat. An expert. This man is definitely an expert. Since when did the Bianliang martial world have such a young expert? The sturdy man was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. At this moment, the leader of the 4 suddenly reprimanded the man. "Wang Li, you are too rude. This young master is old master's friend. He is a distinguished guest of our Zhao clan. How dare you speak to him in such a manner?" The one who reprimanded the sturdy man was Zhao San, the guard of the Zhao clan. Ning Fan had once chased away a savage beast and saved his life. Naturally, he knew Ning Fan and he always had some respect for him. Zhao San glared fiercely at the other guards. His hand was already on the blade on his waist. If anyone dares to be rude to Ning Fan again, he would use his blade to kill them. What? This young master is actually old master's friend? The way the other 3 guards looked at Ning Fan immediately became respectful. How would they dare to offend him? Zhao San asked Ning Fan for the reason. After thanking him for taking care of Zhao Dai, he brought her back to the Cloud Academy. Zhao Dai had not had enough fun yet. She did not want to go back at all. However, she was afraid that her father would beat her if she returned too late. Every few steps she took, she would turn her head and look at Ning Fan reluctantly. After walking far away, she actually turned around and ran back to Ning Fan with a serious expression. "Uncle, build a snowman for Dai, When Dai, grows up, you must marry me. I want you to build a snowman for me every day." As soon as she finished speaking, she skipped and ran towards the academy while Zhao San and the others were dumbfounded. "Marry me? You're just a little kid." Ning Fan smiled faintly and did not mind her words. He turned his head and continued to look at the red plum tree. This was the second time he met Zhao Dai, However, it was definitely not the last time. The snow in Bianliang had yet to stop. The Bian River gradually froze. There were no more pleasure boats sailing in the snow. Zhao Dai, followed Zhao San and found Ning Fan's house. It was actually just a wall away from the Cloud Academy. Thus, she would come to play with Ning Fan every few days and ask him to build a snowman for her. Why did she look for Ning Fan? Firstly, it was because Ning Fan was gentle to children and rarely scolded them. Secondly, it was because Ning Fan would occasionally give her some strange sweet pills. They were very sweet and tasty. After eating them, her body would feel warm and not be afraid of the cold snow. Thirdly, it was because Zhao Dai felt that Ning Fan was very free. Every single one of her servants and guards had a lot of work to do. Other than the elderly and children, the common people in Bianliang City had countless jobs to do. Only Ning Fan was very free. He had nothing to do all day. He would go out to walk in the snow, enjoy the plum trees and drink wine. "Uncle, why do you have so much free time when everyone has work to do?" Mother said that this kind of behavior is called gluttony and laziness. When a girl grows up, she shouldn't marry a lazy man. Dai suddenly doesn't want to marry you. Then why did you come to my house? Ning Fan was speechless. Because the snowman you build looks good. When the snow stops and there are no more snowmen to build, Dai won't look for you anymore. Dai is going to learn martial arts from brother Xiaowu. When Dai grows up, I want to become a barbarian monk and deliver all living beings from suffering. Good ambition. This is my first time hearing that a little girl wants to become a nun. Ning Fan's forehead was full of black lines. The snow only stopped after the end of the first month. After the snow melted, Zhao Dai didn't bother Ning Fan anymore. Perhaps Ning Fan's meaning to her was just to build a snowman. On the other hand, Zhao Dai's father, Zhao Boyang, came to Ning Fan's house more and more frequently. Every time he came, he would drink wine and discuss the Tao with Ning Fan. Ning Fan's comprehension of the Tao was so profound that even if he didn't cultivate the Confucian scriptures, what he said was enough for Zhao Boyang to use as a classic. In Zhao Boyang's heart, Ning Fan had already become a bosom friend, not just a benefactor. Seeing that Ning Fan seemed to take good care of his daughter, Zhao Boyang once said to Ning Fan half-jokingly after getting drunk. "Brother Ning, you and I aren't ordinary people. If you really like Dai, I'm willing to make the decision and betroth her to you. Dai, is still young now. You can set up the engagement first. After she reaches the age of 15, we'll find a matchmaker. What do you think? I know that you already have a wife and Dai will probably be your concubine. However, with Brother Ning's character, I believe you won't mistreat Dai, Of course, Ning Fan would never agree to such words. He would never be moved by a 3-year-old baby. Zhao Boyang still had the intention to invite Ning Fan to join the Cloud Academy. However, every time he raised the invitation, Ning Fan would still politely reject him. He was becoming more and more immersed in his identity as a mortal, enjoying the rare peace in Bianliang City. The number of flames of war was increasing bit by bit. The cultivation of the Yin-Yang War was progressing bit by bit and the 7-colored arrow spirit was being refined bit by bit. Every day, Lu Yan would warm the wine for him and the immortal Loli would come to him to practice. When the snow melted, the immortal Loli would come to Bianliang City again. This was the 3rd year since she came to Bianliang City. She had already defeated everyone in the city. Currently, there was no one in Bianliang City who didn't know her name. It was said that she had devoured some kind of immortal herb which allowed her to maintain the appearance of a little girl forever. It was said that her martial arts had reached perfection. She had defeated 300 soldiers of Bianliang City alone. There were only a few people in Bianliang City who dared to fight with her. Besides, Ning Fan did not allow her to go out of the city to hunt wild beasts. Thus, the bored immortal Loli could only fight with Ning Fan every day. Naturally, she could not use her abilities. Ning Fan also did not use his abilities. Other people might not be able to defeat the immortal Loli, but it was impossible for Ning Fan to lose to her. However, he would not bully her either. He was just a sparring partner. Gradually, the news began to spread in Bianliang City. Ning Sheng was also a peerless expert who lived in seclusion in the Jianghu. Thus, it did not cause too much surprise. In the eyes of the people, it was not strange for Ning Fan, the father of the immortal Loli, to possess peerless martial arts. In the 4th year, it did not snow in Bianliang City and the winter plum blossoms did not bloom. In the 5th year, it did not snow in Bianliang City. In the 6th year, it snowed again in Bianliang City. Ning Fan walked on the snow to admire the plum blossoms again. Once again, he met Zhao Dai at the bank of the Bian River. The current Zhao Dai was already 6 years old. Compared to the past, she was much taller. She was also much more sensible and quiet. When she met Ning Fan again, she recognized him at first glance. She still asked Ning Fan to help her build a snowman. However, she was much more shy compared to the past. She no longer talked nonsense like marrying Ning Fan. No matter what, she was the daughter of a great Confucian scholar, Zhao Boyang. Her upbringing was very strict. Thus, she already knew what it meant to get married. It had been 6 years since Ning Fan came to Bianliang City. He had deliberately changed his appearance. He no longer looked young like the immortal Loli. When he first arrived in Bianliang City, he looked like a young man in his 20s. Now, he looked much more mature. "Uncle, can you help me build a snowman?" "Sure. Uncle, Dai wants a plum blossom." "All right. I'll help you pluck it." Compared to the past, Zhao Dai was undoubtedly much more polite. However, she also felt a little less intimate. The current Zhao Dai only treated Ning Fan like an uncle in her family. Thus, she naturally knew how to be polite. Gradually, she heard from her mother that Ning Fan was not only her father's good friend but also the one who saved the lives of her entire family from a savage beast in the past. Moreover, he even helped her cure the barbaric poison in her body. Her heart was filled with gratitude towards Ning Fan. In that gratitude, there was no ambiguous romantic feelings. Dai has grown up. Ning Fan stroked Zhao Dai's long black hair which was as smooth as silk. Zhao Dai smiled sweetly. She did not resist. Wasn't it very normal for an elder to touch the head of a junior? "Do you still want to marry me?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Uncle, please don't tease me. At that time, I was still young and immature. A child's words carry no harm. Uncle, please don't take it to heart." Zhao Dai's small face blushed as she recalled the embarrassing incident in the past. Haha. Dai has really grown up. Brother Boyang's upbringing is indeed strict. A 6-year-old child is already so sensible. Ning Fan withdrew his palm and did not mind it at all. He turned his head and looked at the red plum blossom tree. Then, he raised his gourd and gulped down his spiritual wine. He was clearly looking at the red plum blossom tree. However, Zhao Dai, who was a little girl, could tell that he was not looking at the plum blossom. "Uncle is looking at the plum blossom, but what I'm thinking about is not the plum blossom," the little girl said with certainty. "Oh. How do you know that I'm not thinking about the plum blossom?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Every time mother misses our hometown in Xiufu, she would look at the old clothes and jewelry that she brought with her. Uncle's eyes are very similar to mother's. Uncle must be thinking about someone. But I don't understand. Uncle has a wife and a daughter and his home is in Bianliang. Who would he be thinking about?" the little girl asked curiously. "Uncle is thinking about his family. Those family members are in a faraway place. In Uncle's hometown, the wind and snow will never stop and the plum blossom will never wither." Ning Fan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. "Uncle's home is in a faraway barbarian city? Can't I go back? Was it massacred by the wild beasts like Xiufu City? No, Uncle's home is still there. I can still go back. Then, when Dai grows up, can I accompany Uncle back home? Dai also wants to see what the barbarian city looks like." Zhao Dai said with longing. "You can't go," Ning Fan sighed softly. Zhao Dai was a barbarian. Barbarians and wild beasts couldn't leave the savage ancient domain. They couldn't even be kept into the heavenly dwelling treasure. Barbarians, the cultivators of the 4 heavens and the demon race belonged to different worlds. The savage wasteland, the 4 heavens and the demon spirit land of the upper world belonged to different worlds. Outsiders could come to the savage wasteland but barbarians could never go to other worlds. Why? Is it because we will encounter a lot of wild beasts along the way? Zhao Dai asked disappointedly. No. It's just that you really can't go. Oh, Zhao Dai lowered her head in disappointment. In order to make her happy, Ning Fan made a few more snowmen. The snowmen he made were not humans but beasts. They weren't wild beasts but creatures that were never recorded in the records of the barbarians. If there were cultivators of the rain world here, they would certainly notice that the snowmen Ning Fan made were the unique wild beasts of the rain world. These wild beasts weren't very strong. Ning Fan had killed some of them. As time passed, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with longing when he looked at these wild beasts. Huh? Aren't beasts the natural enemies of barbarians? Why does Uncle look like he misses these beasts? The little girl asked curiously. In Uncle's hometown, beasts aren't necessarily the enemy of humans. Of course, these beasts used to be Uncle's enemies. Huh? There are still wild beasts that won't be enemies with humans in this world. I've decided that after I become a barbarian monk, I will carve a barbarian ancestral carriage and go to Uncle's hometown to have a look. No matter how many wild beasts there are on the road, they won't be able to stop the barbarian carriage. You really can't go there. However, I didn't expect you to still have the ambition to become a barbarian monk. Ning Fan sighed with emotion. It seemed like this Zhao Dai had made up her mind to become a barbarian monk. This thought probably wouldn't disappear as she grew older. On the second day, Zhao Dai didn't come to Bian River to play in the snow. She had officially entered the Cloud Academy to be enlightened. She didn't have time to pester Ning Fan anymore. The snow this year was slightly sparse. In the 7th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 8th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 9th year, there was snow in Bianliang. In the 10th year, there was no snow in Bianliang. It had been 10 years since Ning Fan came to Bianliang. The number of his natal war flames had already reached 99. It was already his limit and it was hard for him to increase it any further. The cultivation technique of the god of war art could only produce so many battle flames. It could not produce any more. 9,999 war flames were enough to cultivate the 4th transformation of the war god art. However, Ning Fan still couldn't achieve it. The number of war flames was already enough. However, no one would have expected that there was a second condition in order to cultivate the 4th transformation of the war god art. The cultivator must at least have the cultivation base of the early crossing truth realm in order to break through the bottleneck of the 4th transformation. Since no one in the Luo clan had successfully cultivated the 4th transformation of the war god art after the combat king realm, no one knew that one must have the cultivation base of the crossing truth realm in order to cultivate the 4th transformation. I can't break through the bottleneck of the 4th transformation without reaching the crossing truth realm. I didn't expect there to be such a problem. Fortunately, breaking through to the crossing truth realm is only a matter of time. Ning Fan smiled indifferently. He had already refined half of the 7 colored arrow spirits that he had devoured that day. He could feel that he was getting closer and closer to breaking through to the crossing truth realm. As long as he completely devours the 7 arrow spirits, he should be able to accumulate enough illusory power to see through all the mist and step onto the true bridge. Once he succeeds in the crossing truth realm, the 4th transformation would naturally be completed. There was nothing to worry about. Although the cultivation of the war god art had reached the bottleneck, Ning Fan still quietly condensed and devoured the fierce elemental crystals. The progress of the war god art had already reached 82%. He reckoned that he would be able to master it in 20 years like the yin-yang rain. Brother Wu should have returned to the eastern heaven. 10 years have passed. The demon race's bounty on me doesn't seem to be as crazy as before. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the sky above the city. There was a void fragmentation demon cultivator passing by the city and went far away. That demon cultivator didn't notice Ning Fan's presence. In the past 10 years, there were demon cultivators passing by the city from time to time, but none of them noticed Ning Fan's presence. Gradually, there were fewer and fewer demon cultivators searching for him. The great reputation that Ning Fan made 10 years ago was slowly being forgotten by the cultivators of the desolate mountains. I've spent 10 years to turn my mental state into that of a mortal. Now, it's time for me to seek for the truth. Ning Fan looked at the barren plum tree in front of him. His eyes flickered. He returned home. Outside his house, he met Zhao Dai, by chance. This year, she was 10 years old. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.